got me so messed up, don't ignore the signs. We've had enough of the whole damn thing that we got going. You hold the strings without me knowing. Why do I have to suffer through the thinking? Why do I have the feeling that we're sinking? I need to find a way. Find a way. Find a way. Find a way out. Find a way. Find a way out. Find a way. Find a way out. What's all this for? It's got me turned around, but I can't ignore the feelings that I found in this whole damn thing that we got going. You hold the strings without me knowing. Why do I have to suffer through the thinking? Why do I have the feeling that we're sinking? I need to find a way. Find a way. Find a way. Find a way out. Find a way out. Find a way out. Find a way out.
Hello, gentle friends, and welcome to another Counters Casual competition. My name is CASTED, joined today by Greyheart and his cavalcade of adorable hoons, who may or may not be making an appearance over the course of today. We'll be getting into our first game, I think, very, very soon. In fact, I think we're getting into it right now. Whoop. So we'll be showing you guys 3 rounds of competition through today. In our first lobby, we've actually got nearly everybody as a point of view player. So that should be interesting. We'll keep an eye out, of course, and sort of hop around a bit and see who we can spot out as our most interesting player come into this one. Let's see. Let's go for... who have we got? So Improbable Blob, Finno, Stybix, Happy Light Sense, Thomes, Way Too Slick, and FX Ninja, as well as one other player who's part of the tournament, though not streaming. Let's see, has anyone got anything interesting early on? It's a little hard to tell, so I guess we'll just we'll just go and have a look, I suppose. Yep. Alright, FX Ninja EU. So,
Taking on that early Negatron cloak. Obviously pretty helpful with a lot of the comps going around, focusing on a QSS at the moment, Counterfeit.
yes, I mean, you know, so with, of course, us still being on set 4, because the slight preference from the players was to keep things on set 4 rather than set 4.5, as is rapidly approaching. The QS is still very much relevant. I mean, Adepts, they're still in 4.5, but they've certainly got a lot less prevalence than they once did. But right now, in set 4, QS, it's all about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We are following FX Ninja here, who's got the early sharpsuit shooters going on, already getting that 1 buff coming into the second neutral round. It's a nice start off, though, obviously having not picked up that Chosen just yet. I was just wondering, is there any chance we could make the scoreboard on the left just a little bit small so it's easier to see the items as they get
yes,
up?
of course. That's
perfect. There you go. That'll see most of the items if we're about there.
That's
absolutely amazing. And maybe even just a little bit smaller, just so you can see the XP as well. You don't see all of it, just where it's at. So if you up to where the numbers are, then I'll know where we're at in terms of it.
Apologies. So this is definitely not a perfect solution we're using here, because anytime someone goes to an advert break, it then kicks us out.
Well, that means we can have a little look around some of the others. We're checking in now with Improbable. Is it Improbable Blob?
Improbable Blob. Apparently they forgot their username. Or rather, they forgot the password for their username and haven't been able to recover it. So they're working on it.
Improbable Blob's got a couple of sharpshooters, but of course they are of the same units. That's not going to give you the buff. However, 3 Warlord early on with the Warlord Chosen Vi already secured. So building into that comp early on is going to go up in the first round here, up against, is that Stybex?
Yes, and it looks like Stybex has already got a pretty chunky boy up on the front line. As you see, Vi, a very good unit for you able to bust through some of our tankier targets. I mean, the Tam Kench, I think that's going to fall down and give Blob a solid start to the game.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good for Blob. I mean, obviously we saw the Magic Resist, the Magic Resist item coming through then, lowering magic attack. But when you've got AD pumping out the damage, it's going to be Blob who takes an early win start. Going to look towards that streak as the Nidalee is secure. That is going to be the sharpshooter buff on top of the Chosen Warlords. So that's now 4 Warlords, all going to get buffed up by every single win picked up.
Yeah, so it's a very solid start out there. As we've seen, Vi has emerged more into prominence as a very, very solid spell power item holder, because she can punch through a whole bunch of people while also enabling your other carries to be more effective by shredding all of that armor down. Right now, I believe she's at 60% armor shred, so it's going to be very hard to keep a solid front line against her.
This one really interests me. We're already seeing the 3 cultists because we've got the cultist Chosen Elise. So this is going to be a little bit more of a challenge as we do see the Galio entering the fray. Things are going to be quite a lot tighter here. Garen is going to spin to win, and win is exactly what these 2 sharpshooters are going to do at the end of the day. Garen's not quite going to live through to take the extra damage onto Tars, but it is going to be yet another win, yet another evolution of those Warlords coming in for the Blob.
Yeah, Improbable, as you can see up in the top left-hand corner, a Grandmaster, so very much a favoured competitor coming today. Also one of our, seemingly least confident players, though. I think that's just the Britishness coming out pretty strongly for her there. Claiming to be really terrible every time I've seen her stream, but still destroying everyone at the same time, so make of that what you will.
Just out of interest, do you want the sound to be coming through from the other streams?
I do not.
Okay, because I can hear the streams at the moment. So.
Let's see. Let's just check if there's anyone who's unmuted.
I think it might have been on my multi-stream rather than on yours.
Yes, I think it was. But
yep,
all right.
There it is.
So let's take the chance to glance around.
I had that open on the side because I'm good at this.
Well, speaking of people who are good at things, that's right. Transitions. Haha.
Transitions. We got him.
Finno, who is of course long-time friend of the stream and proficient Bonky Kong player, ironically facing now against his one true love, which is Wukong, and actually getting beaten up pretty badly by them.
Well, this is Stybex, who we saw just a moment or two again, taking a loss. This time going to pick up the win, has already gone into what I assume is a Chosen Elderwood rather than Chosen Vanguard on the Hecarim. So that's going to be the Elderwood that's going to get ramped up every couple of seconds as we see more and more of those Elderwood picked up.
Yeah, they've been certainly very solid getting those buffs in more recent times. Of course, I've been hanging out on set 4.5, so I don't know what the heck's going on anymore.
Well, definitely looking to keep my eyes on who's picking up the Vayne and the Katarina this time around, because those are both champions that carries can be built onto, and we're seeing that it is going to be who was that? Tomes? Is it Tomes? Thomas?
I think it's probably Thomas, but it's spelt Tomes. So until I hear otherwise, I'm going to assume that's what they're going for. And they have. So that's going to be a second duelist player that we've got working their magic here today.
Not interested in the Vayne whatsoever. Instead, going to take that VF sword, pop it on to the old bit of armor, get themselves a Guardian's Angel onto the Exile. That is, of course, Yasuo to go alongside the cultists. which are already doing pretty nicely. So we've got cultists and duelists and a ninja keeper for good measure.
Yes. Sorry, yes, I misspoke before. Of course, sorry, the second cultist chosen player. So we are seeing that being kind of popular early on. I mean, it certainly puts an extra body out onto the field as up against FX Ninja, who looks like they're going for Fortune early on, which I have to say I particularly like because of the, what you're guaranteed to get. Let's just put the quality up a bit there. There we go. You're guaranteed roughly the same amount of goal whether you win or lose. Either you get the goal from win streaking, or eventually you'll get the goal back from just getting the payout from Fortune, down the line.
The thing with Fortune is always that risk of losing your health bar quite horrendously early on, as we do sort of see happening here a little bit. So it's got to be careful, got to hope that he comes online sooner rather than later, that win that you talk about that gets you your goal back comes in soon enough to save that HP bar.
All right, so now we've seen around the place. See, so I believe Hold Hands is the one player we don't have our point of view for. So let's check and see who is currently our bottom player. It's Way Too Slick. To be aware, so one of the purposes of today's competition is to get you guys just aware of the different streamers that are around for TFT. A caveat with our friend here, Way Too Slick, is they are extremely crude, so be aware of that before you go checking out their channel. But they promised to be on their best behavior here today because we've got the voice chat. All of our players, or at least most of our players, are in voice chats with each other. So this gives them a chance to actually get to know each other in a much more meaningful way than how you would normally do in a regular competition.
So this is, here we are seeing Slick, who you're talking about, absolutely going with something close to my heart, which is going to be the Moonlight Diana Chosen. This is so many options in terms of what you can go from this. You can go the standard Moonlight Assassin, which is of course fallen off a little bit since the Moonlight nerfs. You can opt into something like a Moonlight Adept, though usually you see Lissandra or Aphelios be the Moonlight of choice when you go into that one. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where this one builds into at the minute. It's been paired up with an Aurelia and a Zed. Don't entirely see where that one's going to go at the moment, especially as I've gone for a Sunfire Cape on Diana, but I've definitely got my eyes glued to this one for now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Sunfire Cape to me, sends the message that this isn't a long-term proposition here for Way Too Slick. But I mean, a lot of the time people are using this extra shielding that Diana gets to allow her to be a massive damage source. In this case, I think it's actually kind of clever to make use of the extra shielding just to keep her on the battlefield for as long as possible, getting those Sunfire procs off and getting very, very good value for a very cheap unit.
I'd go as far as saying Sunfire is the best early game item in the game, and so being able to pick that up early on definitely makes sense. Like you say, able to put out consistent damage due to the shield Diana's going to get anyway. This is why you see it on things like the Nunu or a Garen that's going to stay alive long enough to put out that consistent DPS. However, now with the Akali having been picked up, that's going to replace the Zed. That's going to give you the Assassin buff as well. Even though actually I believe that was already there because of the Pikes, it's just going to be 3 Assassins. If you were able to get something like a Katarina or a Talon to replace that Aurelia, that'd be great. Seeing the Hyper Roll coming in now, actually going towards those Dianas, so I think that Diana might be sticking around a little longer than we thought.
Yeah, that is surprising, but hey, I mean, certainly we're much more used to seeing that kind of Sunfire Cape tanky items on a Salus, but there's no reason it has to be that way except for just trying to optimize as much as possible. And for our players, we've got a lot of very high level players, so a lot of time they're going to be playing just to stay as healthy as possible rather than necessarily have the perfect comp at all times.
That does indeed make sense, and obviously we've got to have a little look at Hold Hands at some point, see what they're going towards. Hopefully we'll get to see a game that they're playing in a couple of rounds' time. Meanwhile, as we come towards the second carousel in just a couple of rounds' time, we'll see who's trying to complete what items, who's going to be getting what. Of course, with us having potential cultist compositions, with us having potential Elderwood competitions, there are already going to be things that are prioritised and looking at especially the tiers, if Elderwood's going to be going towards Veigar.
Yes, I mean, with the lowering of the mana costs again from Veigar, very much a palatable choice. And so let's see. So Happy Light Sense rocking the Maokai Brawler, currently one of the lower ranked players along with Ninja. Let's just get the quality up here as well. Apologies, guys. There we go. So it's making quite good use here of the Teemo. Unfortunately, doesn't have the second sharpshooter to really get the bounces going, but I was going to say, with the dual gauntlet as well, there's building up later on for a pretty powerful AD carry in the works for Happy.
I think you put your finger absolutely spot on what's going on there, Peter. When we look at, is this Happy that we're following? Yes, Happy. Yes. Obviously, as you said, the Teemo's there, had the 2 items completed, but the damage just wasn't enough, didn't have the bounces coming through from Sharpshooter. The tanky front line didn't keep alive long enough, given that the Nidalee Spear managed to pick one off. As a result, yet another loss coming in. Now, looking to this one, is going to be... Nope, pretty much nothing on the bench that's going to help, especially it's not even able to 2-star that Teemo just yet. That's quite unfortunate.
So as we're checking around the lobby, Improbable Blob and Stybix both up at the top of the moment with very, very solid early performances. In fact, let's go and illustrate that point by actually checking in with... Where is Stybix up here? So,
and remember that thing with Blob having that win streak early, we saw them take the Warlord early on, and that means that we're already going to have all those stacks on the Warlord, which means that it's just going to be that much harder to take on.
Yeah, we can see they're up to Warlord 6 already, so she's feeling pretty solid in the early going, though. It's only Stybix who's actually got the win streak going right now, and that's thanks to this Elderwood Vanguard Hecarim. Or rather, I guess it's just the Elderwood Hecarim if we're going to use the particular chosen one. Because, yeah, that's incredibly solid. And right now loaded with damaging tank items as well. It's a top-of-the-table clash. Let's see how it goes.
Yep, we are going to see Blob going up against... I keep forgetting the name of this player. Is it Stybix?
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry, it's a little bit blurry on my screen. It's a little tricky to read. We're seeing a good amount of damage coming through. As always, it is going to be the Hecarim healing up for days, trying to 4v1, managing to take 2 down, looking for a third before eventually succumbing. Not going to happen. That is going to be 2 champions worth of hit points taken off of Stybix. The win streak is gone.
All right. So that does mean the top of the table stays much more contested, but as we were checking previously, Happy Light Sense and Tomes both have taken quite a lot of damage. Tomes in particular, in fact, we can go in and check in specifically with them in a second as to what they are up to, but they're down to almost half health already. So the idea, in set 4 has been for a while that if you can get up to level 9, get your legendaries, nothing else matters. But if you lose this much health on your way there, then maybe it suddenly starts to be a more pressing concern.
Definitely true, and it's kind of reflected a little bit in what we saw, I think, with some of the hyper rolling early on from a couple of the players. I would like to see, if we have the opportunity in a moment, some of the economy for our various summoners, see just how they're doing, whether or not actually they've had to burn too much. We do, of course, see Stybix rocking a pretty high economy on the back of the win streak that had just gone on, also able to complete that Lulu 2-star as well. So we've now got the Elderwood Vanguard coming through. Nice Thresh put in there just to boost up those Vanguard stats. Meanwhile, already we're looking at the 5 Moonlight. Who was that he was just looking at? Was that Way Too Slick?
Let's go and see if we can find them. I think it was, based on what we saw before.
So what are your thoughts on 5 Moonlight?
I mean, if you can get away with it, it seems fine. It feels very risky. We're in a tournament situation here where if the odds go against you, as they might be threatening to do a little bit here for Stybix. They're already rolling down below 50 to try and pick up their 1-stars. So you've got to spend time rolling, at level 5 for your 1-stars, at level 6 for your 2-stars, or even maybe level 7. And there's a lot of variance baked into the whole idea there. And while the payoff can be good, if you can get up to those double 4-star Moonlights, if you don't get there, then you've pretty much guaranteed that you're going to have a poor performance.
He's having a good old fight here, but as you see, 1 spear is enough to take out the Ophelia. That's your key damage dealer, and just like that, the Blob is going to continue their win streak because the Sunfire Cape on Diana is nowhere near enough to deal with those 3 Warlords. Biggest problem, 2 problems for me with what we're seeing here from this Moonlight composition. Number 1 is the fact we still haven't got that QSS onto the Aphelios, which means it's going to have its damage negated at some point as more and more CC comes through. Even a Zephyr would be able to target it and put it out of action, which would be a significant problem. Number 2, as you yourself said there, you've got the issue with if you don't get these early units, it's so tough. You've got to hyper roll for the Diana, for the Lysandra at roughly level 5. You've then got to be looking at Aphelios, Silas at level 6, level 7. And if you don't get it's basically the only comp in the game where you're reliant on multiple 3-star units, because otherwise you're never going to get that level 4 Velios, and that's what you absolutely must have in this comp.
All right, so we'll keep our eye out on what's going on there, because the big time to be checking in with Starbucks is when they've actually managed to pull that off. So let's have a look around at some of our other tables.
When or if, Peter.
Yes. So that is the big caveat there. So we have another chance to check in with Ninja as of yet, who's just losing it out to Finno there. So I think, apologies, some of our streams will be a little bit out of time with each other, so we'll just have to do our best with them. So let's see. So currently Brawler and Keeper. This isn't FX Ninja seemingly committing for anything too major early on. They have got full economy going, so they've got plenty of options.
Yeah, and Ninja, was that Ninja that we were just looking at who hadn't picked up a Chosen just yet?
Yes, and I think
yeah.
So they've got okay, so it looks like they're building up towards an Ash comp here, because they've already got 1 2-star and 1 1-star, so that's pretty crazy. They've got off the choice to go for Zed Chosen here, but I think they've got no interest in that whatsoever. They're already pretty hard into this Ash Brawler composition, come hell or high water.
Very, very true. I mean, usually you'd see that Shade Zed on the bench and you'd just be like, oh, yes, give me that any day of the week. But as you rightly say, at this point, with the item commitment, with the gold commitment into these summoners, into these champions, there's absolutely no way that's going to swap around. We're seeing 4 Brawler, 3 Elderwood. It's pretty strong. It's gonna ramp up quite nicely, but really getting that Brawler just there, that Chosen Brawler, that Nunu, that was a big game changer for Ninja and could definitely help stabilize what is a diminishing health bar.
And they must have really heavily high rolled to be able to actually have those ashes at this point. As you can see in the odds bar at the bottom, only a 12% chance of turning up the ashes at all. So turning up 4 of them, I can understand why they would be so committed so early.
I can. I'd slightly question the having 2 of them out there when you could, for instance, be putting out something that maybe gives you another unique bonus, something like an extra Divine or an extra Duelist out there just to help you out. But as we see on this one, it's enough to pick up a win and stabilize that health bar very, very slightly. We do see 1 health bar creeping quite quickly towards the 0 mark, and that is going to be Toams, who has just hit 24 health, has just gone to level 7, and he's going to need to win pretty much from now on should they want to stay in the game and not pick up 8th.
So what they have got, which is important, is a very, very strong incentive to go now up to level 8, because as we see, they've got 8 cultists, and they've got, I believe, let's see, just checking around, I believe they've got everything
but the Zillion.
No, they have got Zillion, and that's usually the thing that's going to hold you back from going from Cultist 9, because finding the flipping Zillion when you're actually going Cultist is almost an impossible task, but they've done it here. They are currently 3 gold away from being able to rush to level 8 and get 9 Cultists in, but once they do, that's going to make a massive impact.
I'm having a mental block here. Who's missing from this comp?
Let's see. I believe Pike is not currently... No. Oh, no,
is it that there are only 7, so you need Chosen and the spatula item?
No, there's no cultist spatula. So let's see.
No, there's not. So it's got to be someone missing. Who's going to remember first? This is now the competition. It's come down to.
Most of the time, it's going to be Twisted Fate because he's the worst cultist.
I thought I saw Twisted out there.
I thought I did as well. We'll find out in a second.
I'm legitimately interested at this point. There's going to be someone out there in chat going, "It's obviously this person."
Aatrox is there. No, I thought I had it for a second.
Aatrox is definitely there, yeah.
All right, we'll come back to that in a second.
It shows how often I play Cultist, unfortunately. That's the sad fact. I feel like you're going to get it before me now.
I've moved on, Stan. I've moved on.
How could you move on? This is the most
Because we're going to be coming back and finding out in a second anyway. Right, Jin. Jin's the one who's missing.
It is Jin, absolutely. Thank
you. This gives another reason to rush to level 8, because it's going to make it that much more likely you can find the Jin.
True.
I believe as well, I'm trying to remember if it's in for this patch or for a future patch, that the Galio got a little bit of a further buff to get a little bit more resistances, because for a while the Galio wasn't getting the job done because of not having the crowd control immunity, so they basically gave them a free Quicksilver to make sure they actually did something. But I still think there's a fair few situations under which The initial knock-up is great, but you're playing a lot of the time such weak other units. We can see here, they've got one damaging unit there for the cultist with the Eve, that most of the rest of your comp is just chaff.
It's suboptimal at this stage, to be completely honest. Meanwhile, however, just having a look at some of the damage coming through in some of the matches, yet again, we do see Thomas trying to put up the fight. Is going to have that Galio come in, but remember, it's only the level 2 Galio rather than the level 3. Eve's going to put down good damage with the ultimate. However, the shuffle, swipe right, says Azir, and just like that, damage is negated massively. I think Thomas actually has a chance here, though. He's just so close to being able to get himself one on the board, not to go down to single-digit health. It's going to be Hecarim versus even the pony takes out the Black Widow.
Oh boy, yeah, that was a bit of a heartbreaker there. And now we've got that decision looming over Tome's head now, is do they spend out the money? And they're going to finally commit in for it. They could have had, I think they could have, I'd say, oh boy. So this is going to be the reverse of the normal situation where you're normally looking for Zillions at this point. Jhin should be a lot easier to find, and that's why I think they're selling out here. They can go for the free star
release.
So this is important for a couple of reasons, in that there's a lot of scaling for Galio based on stars, but the Chosen as well adds a further extra level worth of bonus on top of that.
Oh, I want to feel bad. Look at that Jhin there on the opposite team. Jhin is just there going, I have had all of your Jins. Galio is going to come in. Elise is a lot more tanky, having just hit 3-star, is absorbing a lot of the damage. This could be enough to keep Toams in the game. He's on 12 hit points right now, has got to start removing the health bars of the opposition. Eve comes in with a big old last embrace, and just like that, it's a win on the board for Toams.
All right, it's fighting on the edge. You can see from the camera that they are starting to feel the pressure a little bit.
Give the man a Jhin!
Oh boy.
No, don't re-roll on the neutral round.
Yes. I mean, that's you can tell there's a lot of pressure being put down because Tomes just gave up on 2 Canes in a row, which is very, very painful. But that's one of the sacrifices you have to make when you're going for cultist.
Without doubt,
you've just got to maintain that laser focus. It's the only thing that matters. Get out that big old. I can't even remember what the names of the different ranks are because honestly, it doesn't matter. That Galio 9. I think it's a lot clearer than saying Evil Overlord or Super Evil Overlord or Meanest Overlord.
I've always just called it a level 3 Galio, like a 3-star Galio, because it comes popping in like a 3-star unit. If anything, better than one. Nice item pick up here. We are let's see. Oh, he's not only has he got that, but he's also got great items that just come through. Got a potential QSS that he can make. He's also could throw in exactly a Chalice of Power should he want to onto the Zillion. The question is it too little too late? 9 cultists. I think we stick with Toams until he either wins this thing or goes crashing out.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very close. We'll just have a small update on the rest of the lobby. Everyone else looks like they're pretty even in Blobs and Slick. Sorry, Blob stays up the top for the time being, and that's who they're facing up against. Oh no, Toes, this is the worst news today.
This is pretty much exactly what you don't want to face, but here comes that massive Galio knock up just like that. The heroic entrance helps out massively. The question is, does he have enough to deal with these warlords? Sitting at 8 warlords at the moment, just missing out, I believe, on the Azir, and that's why Blob loses his winning streak against 9 cultists. Let's go, Toams!
Yeah, wow. Yeah, Blob was doing really, really well. I'm actually kind of surprised that... that got the job done here. So from this point out for Tomes, they've got the option of potentially looking towards level 9, but with the health being as low as it is, any losses here are going to be absolutely, game ending, especially once we hit stage 6.
It's not just health, it's economy as well. 5 gold, so when you're, 68 gold away from being able to get up to level 9. Realistically, that is not happening any time soon. Quick shout out to Skelligathon in the chat who helped me out with that little warlord stat as well about Blob in the last game, but it didn't help him too much. You'll certainly want to get that Azir as quickly as possible, get the 9 warlords going. Meanwhile, things not looking great for Toams in this one. The Galio is going to arrive, but a lot of damage has already been done. Zillion throws down the ultimate, but it's not on the targets that need resing. One does manage to come back from the grave. The health bars are being depleted, and yet again Toams looks like he's coming up clutch, looking for the 3-win streak. Cassiopeia is going to be the next focus, is going to be the next kill, and just like that, the massive turnaround, and Happy is now going to be in last place in the competition.
Oh boy, I mean, this is the top table we're looking at, and there are going to be 3 tables playing today. So this is the most rarefied of environments, but yeah, this is the Skiller special from we saw before. A player notorious for coming back from the very brink of annihilation. I don't know if Tomes' board gets too much stronger from here, just because, as we can see, they've got a lot of cultists on their bench, but actually 3-starring any of these cultists...
Not close. Yep.
Yeah, the Pike is not going to get 3-starred. Eva's not going to get 3-starred.
2-star Jhin and 2-star Callista is about the best he can hope for right now.
And right now, I don't think they actually have any of those in duplicate, so we'll see. Way too slick.
This is really tough because Diana's bounced straight into the background and is dealing with the damage dealers. However, on the front line, you can just see how well the Galio and crew are doing. Galio and Elise so damn tanky, and it's going to be yet another win, 4th in a row. Skeleton coming in again clutch, letting me know that Blob has now got the 9 Warlords completed, having found the Azir. Speaking of Azirs, there's one there with a Zephyr available on this carousel.
Oh boy. Well, I mean,
we've had our first elimination.
Oh no, hold hands! Someone hold hands with me, thank you. Dropping out in last place, rather. Just... Oh my gosh. Yeah, they live their name, they live their gimmick. And... well, I mean, again...
Vince McMahon would be proud.
Absolutely. I like the hold hands is also calling you for someone to join them.
Oh no. Okay, so just sorry to interrupt you there, Peter. 2 things to call out from that carousel. One is we see Thomas picking up ZZ Rock Portal, which I'm assuming is going to go on top of Elise, already really tanky, and then will just last even longer in minion form. Also, at the end there, I think I saw Blob able to secure another Warlord item, which means as and when they hit level 9, they're going to be able to choose any unit they want in the game and make it a Warlord.
Let's just check in. They're a little behind. But yep, that's absolutely right. All right, we'll keep with Thumbs because, again... Actually, no, to be fair, actually, at this point, Happy Light Sense is the one most likely to be eliminated. So let's check in with her. Nice chosen Adept, but didn't decide to go for it in the end. It's going for, let's see, a Mage Dust composition. Oh, no, it's an RE one-shot. So this is something that, that Finno has been kind of pushing forward, and a lot of our shared audience have been trying out. And in fact, it looks like Finno and Happy Light Sense are going for the same comp as each other. That's a little unfortunate. The
3 Zeke Heralds, by the way, on top of the now dead Yuumi. But that was the thing that's put so much attack speed into this Ahri, who with the Infinity Edge, with the dual gauntlet for the explosion of damage from the ult, is enough to eliminate Happy. And now that is a non-contested composition.
All right, well, that's good news for Finno. I feel a little bit sad for Happy there, in that the... when someone kind of, pushes a particular comp and says, everyone should be playing this, and then beats you with that comp, you start to feel like you're being bamboozled somewhere along the way.
Oh dear. Can we tune back into Toams? I'm
yeah, of course.
Also, I just want to kind of correct, well, not necessarily correct myself, but actually expand slightly on something I said. That spatula item that we saw Blob pick up at the last carousel, not only is it great at level 9 because you can have an extra Warlord and actually suddenly be 10 Warlord in this game, but also you can sacrifice one of your less useful Warlord champions right now, stick him on the bench, and bring in another one to still have Warlord 9. And again, you can have anything in the game. So you want Kayn as a Warlord, you got Kayn as a Warlord. You want the boss as a Warlord, you got the boss as a Warlord. And that's why Blob's comp is so damn disgusting. But the most disgusting one right now is the man on a 6-win streak. Toams wins again.
Yeah, so guaranteed to get into top 6 and maybe even further. There's the upgrade to the Callista we were holding out for before. So Galio just becomes that tiny bit stronger. While also meaning there's actually, building up towards a more credible threat outside of Galio.
Still can't find another Jhin.
Nah, just give up.
Oh dear.
I wouldn't at all mind.
That's the message to deliver to all of our listeners. Nice one, Peter.
Well, that's the thing. It's like,
not a fan of 2021? Just give up.
Oh boy, I feel that's a rather dire message to take from that whole thing. But as far as what they're holding on to on the bench, at the moment we've got 2 Eves, we've got 2 Pikes there, which, as we said, they are not likely to get upgraded throughout the course of this one. So I think they are holding back the economy a little bit for Tomes here. Wouldn't at all mind seeing them getting chucked in the bin, just to allow for the possibility of finding, again, those crowd perennial favourites, the Jhin upgrade, which, unitemized, it's a small deal, but it's certainly not a big deal.
I think the thing here with Toams, and while I personally agree with you, I look at it from his standpoint, I think it's a case of he's burned his economy. He's decided to burn economy pretty much every single round. So he's just going to pick up every cultist he sees in the hope that he goes through enough of these sort of this roulette in order to be able to get everything he needs. But he's now in a battle to the death with our current 6th placed player as well. This is a really, really close one. And this time, things not looking good for Toams. Galio still trying to chunk up a good amount of the damage. The ZZ Rockpool doing what it can. But I think with 5 champions left, this is going to be enough to say goodbye to our friend Toams. He is going to take 6th place in this game.
They put up one hell of a fight, honestly, against Stybix as well, because, if they won that round, they would have then pumped themselves up a further place. From someone who looked like they were going out in 8th, I think to finish 6th is extremely strong.
Oh, don't just hover on his sad little face. Come on, let's go check out the cream of the crop. How's Blob getting on?
How is Blob? Who is Blob? There is Blob. There we go. So Warlord set.
How is Blob?
Exactly. I'm glad you got my reference. So the question which you posed before, which was who was going to end up being the super special secret Warlord, it's going to be Set and it's going to be Yone. So that is. Yep. That's Warlord 9, this is like the chase comp to run in the late game. And to have it with 2 legendaries as well. I think, with those with the Yone and the Set both potentially getting upgraded as the game goes on, I think the sky's the limit here for Blob.
Yeah, Yone already got a 2nd on the bench, so could hit 2-star very, very soon. Just 1 VI away from 3-star. Also, we are going to see the battle up against Ninja. Ninja, if he takes a significant chunk, could find himself out here. However, Blob's got to be careful too. Only on 25 health. This is actually a very close lobby. 20 points separating 1st and 6th. We do see the damage coming through from the Warlords, but the Dazzler, that is Ezreal shooting out the True Shot barrage. Now has to take down 4 on his own. However, has a Guardian's Angel, but that's not going to be enough to stop you from the showstopper. That is Set. Takes out another with a True Shot barrage, but that final bit of damage comes through. Hanging on by a sliver is going to be Ninja.
Yeah, and Stybix goes out in 5th as well off screen, so let's try and see if we can find FX Ninja, who's currently our lowest health member of the lobby. We'll just get an action replay of their comp there. So they have, let's see, they've got the level 9 Chosen Keeper Azir, along with a strong Elderwood punching package. So they're looking pretty solid here. Blob and Way Too Slick both have got a couple of rounds losses left in them. As for Ninja, and quite possibly for Finno as well, the next round and all further rounds will be do or die.
Yeah, Ninja, crucially, of course, at level 9 now is going to have that maximum number of champions. No massive synergy to talk about. Obviously, you've got the Adept at 3, Emperor in there, of course. However, apart from that, it's just a whole load of bronze matchups. It's going to be going up against this 5 Moonlight we talked about earlier on and has easily enough damage to beat off anybody they should want to. That being said, that Diana, who was at 4-star, doing a decent job, now it's down to Aphelios to try and 1v5. He's already taken down 1. He goes into his GA. Is going to go down. The Calibrum gun's not enough to save his soul. Ninja keeping himself alive, guarantees himself top 4, which he'd done already. Don't listen to me.
Well, you've got to keep re-guaranteeing yourself again and again, fighting it over and over. Well, I mean, as well, getting a big win against some of the top table or top place players at the moment. Oh wait, we'll have to come back. Top quality production. I tells you. Let's see. So. Yeah, Finno's too dead to watch, so let's go to the top.
Wow,
of the
they must be really dead. I guess we know who's winning that match.
Yes, so apparently we've got a little bit of a time dilation there, so it looks like Finno is going to be in trouble in the next coming
Not
round.
long for the, I was going to say for the Rift, but this isn't the Rift. What is it called? Is it the Galaxy?
It's the Convergence, I believe, but I don't believe the name ever really stuck because it doesn't have any meaningful reason to exist. Okay, no. This is the reason. Oh, no, sorry, this is not against Finno. I thought it was going to be against Finno and we would see the specific reason. But, okay, so Blob against Slick here. We can see that the Moonlight's actually working still relatively well. That Aphelios is scary as anything.
So this is kind of really surprising to me that we've seen the GA rather than the Quicksilver Sash on the Aphelios. But there you see what happens when no CC, no backliners dive onto the Aphelios. He can just sit at the back and rain down damage from those turrets. And rain down damage he did. Blob loses a chunk of health. And suddenly it's an 11-3 balance between our top 3 players. This could all be over in the next round with a good ghost play.
I can see Finno in the chat lamenting the presence of double Zephyr on the squad. You can see there Ninja making again the play to sell and then be able to redeploy the Zephyr once again as the round starts, which should mean that a solid pickup here. There we go. The Vi is taken out of commission immediately.
This was a risky play, however, because if he had been up against the Aphelios, it would have definitely been the Aphelios he needs to take out of play. As it is, it works out well against Blob, trying to put the damage down. Things are very, very close as we see the shuffle coming in from that Chosen. Azir shuffling to the side, putting out damage. Ezreal staying alive long enough to get off two True Shot barrages. He's going to be put into the GA, as we can see what Set is doing in his Warlord form. Takes another Showstopper, dunks straight down. Now it's going to be the 1 versus 2. This looks like it's going to be the death of the Shen. He tries to take out one, but get Shurima shuffled to oblivion.
All right, well, it's kind of the expected result there as Blob against Slick. So let's bring it down to double vision. Whoop. Everyone who's dead, get out of here. We don't need you anymore. It's just 1v1. There we go. Lovely.
Beautiful. Just having a little look at what items were picked up here. Can you zoom in on both just to let us know what those last items were, just quickly?
Sweetly.
Thank you very much. So actually, straight into the battle. This is it. This is the battle for first. We see the damage being put down significantly from that backline. Aphelios, who's just going untouched in this fight. And this is why the Moonlight's so strong. However, now it's the 1 versus 2. The Showstopper is going to connect. Guardian Angel is there. Calibrum turrets are not going to fire while dead. The healing's not quite enough. The final Showstopper comes through, and the show is stopped. Blob is going to take the win.
Wow. That was impressive. I mean, the Moon Man did a pretty good job. But ultimately, I mean, yeah, as I said, I'm actually kind of surprised it was as close as it was there. Let's watch the action replay over from Improbable's side of things. You see, ultimately the legendaries didn't end up being leveled up in the same way we would have expected, or at least not as harshly as we would have expected. But still, you know, there is a ceiling to the Aphelios eventually, as you said, not necessarily the items we would have expected, but it still worked pretty darn well.
It certainly did. Nice to see the Moonlight still being played significantly. Of course, those changes so many patches ago to the Calibrum, not Calibrum, sorry, the Calibrum is the ranged one. To the cannons of Aphelios, obviously making so much different because they don't fire in GA anymore. Had they still been firing in GA, I think that's undoubtedly a win for the Moonlight composition there. Wasn't to be, however.
All right, guys, so let's check in on our overall placements at the moment, because we do have, of course, many other lobbies going on at the same time. So let's see. Our global rankings, I think, yeah, just getting filled out at the moment. So we'll keep you guys updated. I think presumably the other lobbies are going on. So we're going to have a short break before we get back into the action. So we'll be back at 20 past. And I'll just update our break screen to indicate that's the case. Yeah, okay. So stick around. We've got 2 more rounds off this, and then for anyone who wants to carry on hanging about, we've also got Among Us afterwards as well to enhance the casualness factor as much as possible. But for now, stay tuned, and we'll see you in a few minutes' time.
back and forth has got me so messed up. Don't ignore the signs. We've had enough of the whole damn thing that we got going. You hold the strings without me knowing. Why do I have to suffer through the thinking? Why do I have the feeling that we're sinking? I need to find a way. What's all this for? It's got me turned around, but I can't ignore the feelings that I found in this whole damn thing that we got going. You hold the strings without me knowing. Why do I have to suffer through the thinking? Why do I have the feeling that we're sinking? I need to find a way. Find a way. Find a way. Find a way out. Find a way out. Find a way out. Find a way out. Find a way out.
I got enough of every melody, they all sound the same. Yeah. For my broken heart, no remedy, but maybe if you stay, we can get away with it. 'Cause you make me love my imperfections, answer all my questions, just to show me what's on the other side of inhibition. No apologies, my baby. I do you do 'cause I'm feeling so good. Ooh. I do you do 'cause I'm feeling so good. Ooh. Oh, my darkest memories, now let me fall back. But you'll be there, ready to rescue me if I go out of track. You can get away with it. 'Cause you make me love my imperfections, answer all my questions, just to show me what's on the other side of inhibition. No apologies, my baby. I do you do 'cause I'm feeling so good.
Lost myself within the fire, breaking free from my desire. A heart of gold, torture to inspire. It's starfire. It's starfire. On this journey we will find our souls begin to intertwine. Your heart of gold, so pure, divine, and I lost myself within the fire, breaking free from my desire. A heart of gold, torture to inspire. It's starfire. It's starfire.
Waste another day, eyes on my display. You say we need a change, and I feel that you mean it. You mean it. But you're so right, we're losing track of time, buying things online, and it's not like we need them. We don't need them. So can we just slow down? The only thing I'll do is lay here next to you. We need to slow down. Embrace the love we found for you and our sake.
Howdy, everybody. Let's get into our next round. Where we still need to fix one of our players, apparently. Try and figure out who that is. That is FX Ninja. Okay. Apologies for that. We'll get that sorted out in just a second. We're in it to round number 2. I wonder why that's happening then. Technology.
Anything I can help with. I doubt it. No.
Alright, there we go. We're sorted. It's fine. It was just a little bit sleepy. As are
I know that feeling. I mean, like, you know, I was like, oh, what's the call time? And you're like, oh, 8:30. I was like, 8:30. There's an 8:30 in the morning.
This morning.
I knew there's an 8:30 later in the day, but that was a shock to the system, my man.
Yes, I can only apologise for this crime against humanity. Right, so let's just make sure everything's working as it should be. It should be.
Speaking of crimes against humanity, how about that Hella Warlord comp in the last game that we saw coming out of Blob?
I mean, that was absolutely filth. And I think we might be in line for more absolute filth because Blob has gotten themselves an extremely early Vagar, which means that they could potentially be stacking them up from the start of the game.
It's true. The Vagar's kind of fallen off a little bit in terms of its priority. It's sort of dropped around about A tier rather than that S tier it held for so very long. Obviously, the ability to get the tiers on it is absolutely crucial. But already 1 tier has been secured for Blob, so on a decent setup towards it. We'll see whether he opts fully into it. Obviously, we do see the 2 Moonlight alongside at the moment, so maybe just waiting to see exactly what he gets. Didn't want himself a 2-star release, instead opting to sell the 1 release he did. As you say, another Vygar coming through, and things looking mighty spicy for our man Blob.
Oh, well, Lady Blob in this case.
Was it Lady Blob? No.
Yeah. We've got ourselves an eclectic selection of folks here today.
Apologies to the Blob.
All apologies to be made to the Blob at all times, it's true. Certainly after winning that first lobby, she's running high after that performance. We have got a fair few different Chosens coming through early on. And Blob, while at level 4, doesn't actually have a Chosen of their own. Unfortunately against Benergy here, or Manarosas and other places, they were up against 3 units, so they should be able to get this Vagar stacking, or at least a stack? There we go.
Just managing to get a little bit of damage down. Now it comes down to Yasuo and Akali duking it out with Silas and, of course, the tree. Maokai going to hit ult. That should be enough to get the kill, just with that last little bit of health.
Alright. Oh, the temptation of the Blob.
Yeah.
That sharpshooter. At this point, the items aren't great for Vayne. There's none of the bows you're going to need to make that a worthwhile thing. So I think, the Vagar early on kind of is functionally a Chosen in terms of what it's doing for Blob's composition. So I can see them sticking with it, especially if they can maybe tank these next couple of rounds to complete the tier and really get that Vagar rocking.
Yeah, I think as well with the Vayne, you just need so many needless to make that Master Sharpshooter build work, where you're getting all the enhanced procs off the Silver Bolts. So completely understand not opting into this one, instead dealing with the hand that fate has dealt him, going into the Vygar, having to take out a level 2 Vayne on this one, however, is not going to happen as Ninja gets a little bit of revenge the last game.
Alright, let's go and check and see what Ninja is doing. Where are they hiding? Down in the bottom left hand corner. So they've got themselves... So they don't have the Chosen Sharpshooter, but they do have just the Vaynes, and they've got a very early completion of the Zeke's Herald to make sure the Vayne, is functionally getting up and fighting a lot quicker than they would be otherwise. We've got the Warlord also very close to being completed there as well. They could potentially put that in this round, but the choice is between having the Vanguard frontline or having the potential Warlord buff building up.
It's a tricky one to decide between. In the early game, it's not going to matter quite so much. So obviously, you want to get those win streaks, you want to get that extra gold income. Yeah, I like what Ninja's doing so far. Certainly makes a lot of sense. Haven't seen. He certainly would have been delighted had he been able to pick up that Sharpshooter Vayne that we saw on Blob's board earlier.
Oh, for sure. And up against the blue here, who has gotten some pretty solid level 2s early on. So while the backline of FX Ninja is still pretty strong, against just a pile of level 2s, I think the damage isn't quite going to be there.
It's the Chosen Diana again. It's going to put down a good amount of damage. Going to get that buff straight up to level 2 as... Oh, sorry, not up to level 2, but buff the Silas up to level 2. It's really tough to deal with. Last time we saw the Sunfire cape onto Diana, I'd really like to see an Assassin build onto Diana at some point today, but kind of fallen off in the meta a little bit, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was something we went without seeing on our stream today.
So we've got ourselves 3 Spatches on the carousel, which could really change a lot of things here. We're seeing that they're getting picked up, well, they're picked up relatively early on. So Benergy grabs hold of one, as does Improbable Blob, one left to go. The reason I mention this specifically is because this is going to really push some of these, well, of these 3 players, Benergy, Jenna to win, and Improbable Blob, towards, you know, making very important use of that. Otherwise, it's a completely dead item.
Disappointment there from Janna to win, opting into the Spatula rather than going for the Janna with the BF sword, which clearly would have stuck to the name trait. You know, we saw in the last game, you know, Hold Hand 7th, 8th, they stuck to their bit. This is what we need to see in these games.
Absolutely, you're going to live your gimmick here today. Right now, FX Ninja, though, is sadly staying away from ninjas, instead going fully into the sharpshooter again without a sharpshooter chosen. So their front line is a single Hecarim. They will not stand up for any amount of time. Their Ninja, who's currently, you know, towards the mid, is part of the top 4 right now, but they don't have a win streak to protect.
They don't, however, the carousel was very, very kind to them. That recurve bow Jinx coming through, taken up to the 4 sharpshooters. Still obviously waiting on the Chosen as well. Going to see the Silver Brox doing a lot of damage to these tankier champions. In the back, we do see the Lysandra trying to put as much damage down as possible. In the end, it is all to no avail as Janna to win takes the loss because they didn't pick up the Janna.
It's the key to all victories inside and outside of TFT. Is follow your name.
Always pick up the Janna.
Yes, always pick up a Janna.
Unless you're at a Comic-Con, then don't pick up the Janna.
Oh no. Well, that's yes. Ahem. Moving swiftly on. The FX Ninja. So right now, you know, they've got the possibility.
Ooh, interesting.
Did you spot something?
Well, just the fact that Vayne is there on the board, they'll clearly have noticed it, and they're not opting in to pick it up, which tells me that this Vayne might not belong for the world. The fact they're not looking towards the 3-star.
Well, no, I mean, certainly when you start putting buff items onto a character, it's going to limit their capacity as any kind of carry pretty tremendously. Though, I mean, having extra health and attack damage isn't bad, but if you're looking for the Gwynsu's Runan's Hurricane Quicksilver combo, which is, of course, you know, generally the most popular one for Vaynes, you just can't give up any slots for anything else.
It's true. And speaking of damage items, we saw already that Aphelios there for a way too slick coming together in terms of the items completed. However, that wasn't enough to pick up a win. It's going to be the Bloodthirster and the QSS that I talked about in our last game there, on top, of course, the Chosen Diana Moonlight. So we're already seeing that we're going to get that Aphelios up to 2-star on the back of it already.
Yeah, you know, the Bloodthirster is definitely, you know, it's a very distinct choice being made here by Way Too Slick to try and get, you know, to give up some of the overwhelming damage potential in favour of that further bit of survivability. Because the Quicksilver, while it will keep you from being adepted or just generally crowd controlled out of the game, it won't stop you from being killed by whoever jumps onto the backline and goes after you. So I can appreciate trying to, you know, build a bit more defensively. It got Slick to 2nd last time round, so certainly no complaints there.
Yeah, certainly sticking to type, but this time not opting into all of the Moonlight, instead looking just towards what's probably going to be Moonlight Adept by the time all is said and done. Unless, of course, they start picking up loads of Moonlight in a moment, in which case I'll be proved wrong very quickly.
I can only hope we get to see that glorious day once again. But okay, so yeah, we're going to have the Zeeks coming in to buff up the Aphelios. For the time being, I think this is absolutely fine. I mean, for Slick, they haven't been doing tremendously early on. There's a big drop-off after you go from Blob and Janna to win up at, 90, 84, and you start to go, down into the 70s for our bottom 4. It's not, it's obviously still early days, but that's still a decent amount of damage being soaked in the first stage.
it's not what you want, especially looking towards our bottom three all at 78 health. As soon as you drop below 80 before second carousel, you're going to have some issues unless you start win streaking a bit like we saw out of Toams in the last game. Velos is putting down good damage, but without that Rage Blade, it just fires so slowly. It is going to be another loss for Way Too Slick.
Yes, and even though the Rage Blade doesn't interact directly with the turrets, it's still giving that general benefit across, which works so very well. I actually wanted to take a quick look across to our lobby round one winner in Probable Blob, because they've gone a bit of a different direction than what we've seen them with before.
This is going to... Oh, okay, yeah, liking what we're doing here with the early Hunter. We've got the Death Blade onto the Ashe as well. In our last game, we saw someone picking up so many Ashe so early. Didn't work out too well for them in that one, as they weren't able to get to Chosen anything particularly quickly. Seeing a similar situation here for Blob, who has lost a few games, but has that Brawler front line for the safety. Also, the Elder Word buff coming through as well now.
And I really like the Hunter as well here, because it just gives Ashe a way to be able to stack up that Death Blade that much quicker, especially with that incidental hits to get the kill credits, so that her Death Blade gets stronger and stronger.
Oh!
Unfortunately...
Got one shot by a Niddly Spear!
Doink!
She done got cougared.
Well, so for FX Ninja, they're bringing in Teemo, who's been trying to creep into the end of set 4 as a real menace, and that he shuts down a ton of different kinds of compositions. If you don't have the Quicksilver for your carry, then you're just going to get shot up by a blinding dart. I mean, spears across the map aside, that's still going to shut down nearly all of your damage in your comp with a single ability.
Entirely true. Also, the thing I don't like about Blobs at the moment, of course, we praised Blob for sort of their adaptivity and what they were able to do in the last game, the way they pushed forward to Warlord, the champions they put into their 9 Warlord. This time around, we're seeing an awkward mix, 3 Brawler rather than 4, 2 Moonlight, not getting that buff onto the third one, so Silas isn't going to be level 2 just yet. It's a little bit all over the place. We'll see how they do up against top. This is Farfetch'd, who's only lost 1 game so far, is on a massive win streak, looking to get yet more. We're going to see a couple of kills come in for the Ashe, but it's not enough to save their life, as yet again, Teemo coming in with the blinding dart. Maokai, the last tree standing, gets felled, and yet more damage onto Blob.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we saw. We saw 2 rounds in a row, 2 sharpshooter compositions get up against the Ashe, and both times destroying the Brawler Hunters pretty effectively. I think Blob, at this point, has been seduced by this very, very early Ashe coming into the composition, but I don't... As I say, I'm a little wary as to the actual performance. I mean, 68 health at this point isn't terrible by any means, but Farfetch and Dare, they're both riding really high, with FX Ninja just behind. And then you see how much of a drop-off it is from the top 3 to everybody else.
Almost polar opposite to what our last game was, where we were in a position where I think by the time we got down to the final 6, there were 20 hit points covering 1st to 6th. This time round, I mean, there's a more than 20-point hit point gap between that 3rd to 4th that you were just talking about. This is finally going to be the change now coming in with the Mystic Chosen Yumi. This will remove the Hunter buff from Ashe, however.
Yeah, so that's Ashley's going to have to rely on that extra tonkiness to be able to stay alive and keep on fighting.
I'd take 1 Brawler out, personally. How about you?
It's tough, because every Brawler's getting the bonus. I think at this point, it looks like Blob's kind of prioritising trying to keep the front line up as the sort of the method to get through the round. So I think bringing in the Hunter here is going to make the... they are Grandmasters. They definitely know what they're doing.
Oh, without a doubt.
So they've judged it to be that this is a better strategy, and it's worth against energy, only just, but it works.
Well, the Grandmaster proves me wrong, proves themselves right, because the Brawlers stayed alive long enough for us to get up to 6 stacks on Death Blade, and the Ashe comes through clutch.
All right, but yes, I think you're right. Ideally, we'd like to see a 4th Brawler turn up here. Ideally, a Warwick. Even though that's only a 5% chance of showing up, that would be the perfect.
That'd be a game changer.
I don't think Blob's even going to be holding out for that kind of thing to happen, just because you can't build your strategy around that. As we do.
Could you pop us over to Way Too Slick, please, Peter?
Let's take a journey. Whoop. Yes, because we have ourselves a 3-star Lysandra, a 3-star Diana, and that means we have a 3-star Aphelios as well.
It does, and this is sort of what I was talking about a little bit when we were last looking at this Moonlight. The fact he hadn't gone towards Lysandra at all. Silas had, I don't think he even had a single Silas at that point. Now we're seeing the complete going into Moonlight 5 that we saw last time around. Still just seeing the 2 items on the Aphelios, but the damage comes through. The extra assassination damage, of course, the assassins coming in with Pike and Diana. And that's a beginning of maybe yet another win streak for 2 Slick.
And that's as well with Dare actually running the Diana as well, who we just saw in the previous round, and leveling up to level 7 as well. So that's a pretty impressive accomplishment for Way Too Slick if they can get the Aphelios completed. Though they're also waiting on getting the Silas put up as well at Moonlight 5 to get the full power.
Yeah, so at the minute you're getting a Silas 2-star because he's only at 1-star at the moment. These items crucial. The recurve bow did not come through there. Had the recurve bow come through and we'd seen Rage Blade completed for the Aphelios, that would have been absolutely massive in my eyes. Instead, going to see that Sunfire that we saw last time around onto the Diana again. Also, going to see a Locket of the Iron Solari completed.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. At this point, you're in a rough spot for Slick. You need to buy yourself more time. And in this case, it's going to be just by slamming all those items. As you noted, the Gwynsu's Rage Blade is super, super important. And potentially it could have been only a few rounds away at the carousel, but for Way Too Slick, they're feeling the pressure. They want to keep their team alive for as long as possible. And I think they're going to need all the help they can get up against FX Ninja.
That 2-star Silas just absolutely gets ripped through. The Fortune Vanguard that is Sejuani is going to fall. Bristle is sent back to the fountain, and damage is dealt to Ninja.
Okay, so it paid off there. We had the extra bit of surprise health for the backline, and Way Too Slick looks like they want to go through stage 4-1 as strong as they can. So they're going to need to get some good drops in these next couple of ones to make sure this whole trip to the 4-star Aphelios is actually worth the time that's being put into it. Because if there's not a good third item in there, the Aphelios' damage is still going to be relatively minor compared to what it could be.
So I slightly find this surprising that we there put 8 points into the rerolls trying to get towards that Silas, trying to get towards that failure, rather than going up to level 6, which I feel could have been done there. However, not going to question Slick, who came second in our last game, obviously knows what he's doing with this comp, knows when he wants to burn the gold, when he doesn't. He's not going to find that 2-star Silas, crucially, however, having gone down to 40 gold.
Well, you're certainly right. You're going to have a better chances of turning up those level 2s as you go along. In fact, all the way up to level 7 now, you're still in with a pretty solid shot of seeing them. As we're up against Jana to win here, who lamentably is not running in Jana's. Looks like it's Cultists right now, and falling to Slick's level 5 but very strong comp.
That was indeed pretty slick. There is, of course, a Kindred there on the bench, so we could see Double Hunter coming in, which would be very, very useful for Slick if they're able to get to it. Do we want to stick with Slick, or do we want to see?
I think maybe for one more round, because right now Slick is on the verge of getting into fairly serious win streak territory.
True, you're absolutely right.
But we'll definitely be checking our eyes around because it's, of course, tricky.
Give us that Slick versus Farfetch matchup. That's what we want to see.
Oh boy, it's going to be up against Benergy. So they're going for the Callista, a very, very strong Callista comp, with a Vayne Duelist carry. Duelist Spatula, which can, of course, be added to anything else later on and potentially become extremely strong.
Duelist, of course, very much the enemy of Diana. However, the Diana able to hold off long enough for Aphelios to be the one putting out the damage. As a result, the win streak continues, as you so rightly predicted, for 2 Slick as we head to the 3rd carousel.
All right.
Or 4th carousel. Whichever carousel it is, we're heading there.
I guess it's stage 4, so that's what I would normally go for. Oh, hello, there's a Warwick. We saw before there was going to be a high-value prize, particularly for Blob. I don't know if they're going to get a chance to get it, though, because they're too far up the carousel priority. You see Ben G also wanted that one, but Slick... So they've definitely got it in mind that they're either going for, presumably, a Giant Slayer or a Gwynsu's Rage Blade, depending on how the last creep round goes.
I think you see a little bit of perhaps regret there on Slick's face, having not waited to be able to put that Rage Blade on, but it might be that it was all well calculated and it's going to work out absolutely fine. As you say, last creep round will be absolutely instrumental to see whether they're able to get towards that crucial third item for Aphelios. Meanwhile, where are we turning our attention to, Counterfeit?
Let's see. I'm just checking to see if what else we've got going on here.
Oh, so just to bounce back there, Slick did level up to level 6 now. Also found a Warwick. In fact, I think the recurve bow came on the Warwick. As a result, not only getting the Hunter buff, but also going to be getting a Brawler buff as well. And speaking of Brawlers, just hit 2-star on the Silas, which means we are going to have a full set of 3 stars now from this Moonlight. Yeah. And it's up against Farfetch. This is the matchup I wanted.
All right. Well, and you can see that the Farfetch has definitely got the rise towards later on because they've got a Nidalee right now with a Giant Slayer, a Dual Gauntlet, and Guardian Angel. So Farfetch, despite being 2 levels high, is very much not in their final form. They take a big loss there, but they've still got a ton of hit points as they've lost their winning streak in favour of Way Too Slick. We've got a new contender in town.
The king is dead. Long live the new king, which is going to be Slick in this case. That was very, very nice. The timings on the items, the summoners that were picked up there, absolutely perfect. Interesting to see that he's not opted into keeping the Warwick going with that recurve for now, instead throwing the Kindred in as it hit level 2.
Okay, so we've got Hunter, Assassin, and the 5 Moonlight Improbable Blob. So we can see the Ashe has stayed in here, and we've got the Kindred as well to back up on the Aphelios. So that's 3 Hunters in the mix. That's a ton of damage, but I think the Dana might just be that too tonky to be able to bust through.
The Hunters have become the hunted because the Aphelios is still firing. Now he's got to deal with a Deathblade Ashe, however, and that is not gonna work. The win streak is over just as soon as it begins. And now Blob finding himself able to deal with not just that comp, but most likely Farfetched as well.
Oh boy, that is, yeah. I think we got to see a little bit there of what the sacrifice that's been made by Way Too Slick by not having those massive damaging items on the Aphelios is that the time is being bought by the rest of the composition. It's being bought by the Locket of the Iron Slurry, but the damage isn't quite there for the team. The Dana, is providing adequate road blocking duties, but she's crucially not murdering people en masse as you kind of hope that she would be in her more traditional assassin form.
That was not the carousel that I think we would have seen Slick wanting, picking up 2 tiers alongside an Aurelia. That is not it.
Alright, so that means the win streak is over, and we should discard Slick as quickly as possible.
Wow, is that what you do to people? They lose a game and they're just like, nah, done with you.
Yep, out of here. We're going to go look at someone else.
A parting comment onto Slick, by the way. We just saw that tier complete for Kindred, which will obviously up the ultimate damage, the amount of ultimates that are going to come through, as we're actually going to see him now taking on Farfetch. We'll see if that helps out with that tier. Also, hold on, this is not... It is! This is Blob! I knew it was Hunters. I thought it was Slick. It's not. It's Blob. This is what I said would happen a moment ago. He takes out Farfetched. I appear to be Psychic Counterfeit.
I mean, I think we're just seeing a lot of the same stuff being duplicated across several different compositions. We're seeing a lot of the Sharpshooters. We're seeing a lot of Hunters in one form or another, be it Aphelios or the more traditional Ashe setup. I think there's a good reason for that. We're at the top table now now in the second round with our players who have come through and finished top across. When we get to our final round of today coming up, after this one, of course, we'll be seeing the very, very tippy top of all the performances here today. But right now, I think these players, they're playing sensibly because they know that their place at the top table is at stake.
Farfetch now needs to decide where these items are going. He's put the Chalice on top of the Riven. He's got the Dual Gauntlet. He's got the Giant Slayer. And he's got the Guardian Angel on the side. Currently hovering at 5 dust, courtesy of that Chosen Riven. Is going to find the damage that takes out a competitor. Benergy is going to be the first to fall in Game 2 of today's stream.
See, this is why I want to watch Farfetch. They are not just a delightful leak-bearing Pokemon, but they're also a terrifying... bird of destruction with 5 dusk, so they're just missing their Lilia to go up to 6. They don't actually have a dusk spatula or anything to kind of really prove the the ultimate version of the composition, but it's still very strong.
It certainly is, as is that gin, despite only being 1-star, something that we've said a few times today. We've had issues with 1-star gins. However, it's now got those 3 items on top of it, and it is going to do absolutely oodles of damage. Ninja might be the first to fall. However, that is going to be a 2-star gin with 3 items on the other side of the convergence. We're going to see the drawing coming from the Aatrox pullback. It's a lot of damage coming out from both of these gins. Which will fall first? The answer is Farfetch'd, and just like that, he loses his health.
Oh boy, so it looks like there's a new sheriff in town again. We got ourselves a pretty competitive lobby, so Janata, Winbenergy, and DeBlue getting knocked out relatively early on. Way Too Slick down on 13 health. Our Moonlight player, who is, just like before, going to be fighting their way up from the very bottom. It's kind of strange to think, when you're building a composition built around kind of relatively cheap units, you'd expect to be able to hold on to a lot of health while you're doing it. But for the Moonlight, you're not really that strong until you've got several of them put together, which can take quite a while. And for Slick, they're just about holding on.
It all fell into place quite nicely, and I'd go as far as saying quite early for Slick last time round. We saw him take it all the way to second. This time round, he's fighting to hold on to try and stay in the top 4. He's already had 3 people go down. He knows that if he loses that last 13 health, he's going to be the next.
Alright, so let's see, perhaps the rise or death of a hero.
Oh, so that recurve bow we talked about earlier on that we were hoping to see maybe a Needless or a BF sword come through for, has just been stuck on its own onto the Aphelios, which means as a result, the GA gets put onto Warwick rather than onto the Aphelios. We do now have 4-star Aphelios. He's putting down some good damage in this fight to stay alive. In comes the Galio. It's only a 1-star Galio, so it's not doing too much. Dave EU West is taking damage from the Aphelios turrets. I think this is going to be a win. I think this is going to be survival for Too Slick.
Yeah, the winner of our first ever Counters Casual competition. Their win streak ends there, and Way Too Slick keeps on moving. You're right, putting the bow onto the Aphelios, it's needing just a little bit more damage. You're right, it's giving up on the item that's presumably going to be coming, or potentially relevant item that's going to be coming at this next creep round. But for Slick, they've got such a small window of opportunity to get into the top 4. I don't blame them for trying to take every edge they can.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense, and of course, once we've got past the Herald as it appears in a round or two's time, we get towards the next carousel, you have the potential to get those single items, and if you're at the bottom of the tree, you're going to be able to take whichever one you want. So if a Needless or a BF appears, maybe you'll get there. As you say, gotta get there first, though, trying to deal with this dust composition from Farfetch, putting down really, really good damage. This is what happens when you've got 2 4-star units going against lots of 1-star units. Absolute decimation. Farfetch taken down into the bottom 2 that remain.
Yeah, no, Farfetch is potentially in position to actually get knocked out of the top 4 in favour of Way Too Slick. So that would be a very strong recovery for Slick. I think bearing out why they've made all of these commitments early on. Remember before the Diana getting all those items completed. Now with the Aphelios getting sacrificed on late game power in favour of right now power, it's going to be tight up until the very end.
We're going to get a Luden's Echo coming in now. Not an optimal item for this comp, however, could maybe stick it onto the Kindred. Just get that splash damage coming through every time the ult autos go through. Get a little bit of quicker regen to go on top of the tier as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly like a little bit of extra damage. But you're right, it doesn't scale tremendously well. It's got that fixed amounts of damage. So it's something, but for this point, I think for Way Too Slick, even a relevant item of any kind is worthwhile because they can't itemize their Moonlight anymore. They've got 3 of their Moonlights with the 3 items. So they can put 2 items on the rest of them, but if they go up to full 3 items, they'll have to then start getting randomly upgraded.
Exactly.
They're never going to do
it. You can't risk having the correct 4 stars, is the matter of fact, as we see the fight up against Ninja. Ninja with 30 health. Knows he'll be staying alive no matter what on the back of this fight. The question is, can he remove this 3-win streak? Can he, even more importantly, remove Too Slick? No, he can't. And as a result, Ninja, much like Farfetch before him, goes down into the bottom couple. Farfetch gets eliminated.
Well, so yeah, there we go. So this, I think, is what we're seeing here for this being a tournament play rather than just regular ladder play, is that Slick is putting everything into making sure this competition gets into the top 4 and starts accessing the bigger points total. because with the points split, first gets the most points, then the second, third, and fourth, and then it's a big drop off to fifth. So they're guaranteed through there. They could even take out Ninja here and steal the top 3.
Entirely possible, and actually with the win streak that's going, I really want to see him going up against Blob yet again, seeing if he can maybe get revenge for last time round. Got to go through Dave first, someone with a legacy record, as you were saying, in these competitions. His distractions not really working, coming in from the Azir turrets. As a result, damage comes through yet again. Dave is the next to fall down at the hand of Too Slick.
Yeah, Dad's just doing it. Again, is in peril of being eliminated. In fact, Way Too Slick now up in third place. Improbably enough, is on a win streak and 40 health, whereas everybody else is lamentably 1 round away from being eliminated. So we could be looking at Blob winning twice at the top tables if things keep going their way. Let's have a quick check in and see what Blob is up to. So they've got 500.
Just saw a hyper roll of XP there, and the Lux put out into that Moonlight Hunter composition that belongs to Slick that we were just following. Who we're going to for this match? It's going to be Slick yet again as he goes up against Blob. This is going to be a top 2 matchup. However, it could be elimination for Slick if he's not able to find himself the win. Aphelios raining down the damage. Diana tanking up in the front line. It looking good for Slick as he goes up against the Deathblade. It's going to be GA popped onto the Ashe, and she is going to go down. It's going to be Improbable Blob who loses health. Yet again, the win streak continues. He manages to get himself through to this carousel, but he does not find a BF or a Needless waiting for him.
So Dare gets eliminated in fourth. So Way Too Slick, they've not only managed to hold on by their fingertips, but they've also made it into top 3, so it's earned them at least an additional point. I'll be honest,
I think they win this game. Like, I don't see a composition in front of me from our last few matches that I think can stop this Aphelios.
I think you could be right. I mean, we've got the extra attack speed being added onto Aphelios there with a quick switch over to be standing next to the Diana, which makes a lot of sense. I think for Improbable Blob, they've still got a little bit of time to adjust and find some new bits and pieces, but you're right, there's not going to be a huge amount of changes. Ninja is at level 9. So they've got the sheer, in terms of raw numbers and access to a 5-cost chosen. I think this is up against Blob's Ghost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to see whether Ashe is able to do damage in Ghost form when it wasn't able to do it previously. Certainly not looking great if this is if there's anything to go by. Blob is going to be taking back the big W.
Let's try and check on the IRL version. And we can see Blob losing out to Ninja as well. So they are now down to second place. This is incredibly bad news if you're Blob here. To lose to both of the remaining players means that we need to see a drastic change up for this last round, or they are outie, and it's going to be running to level 9.
Yep, they just go straight in, throw the Zillion into the composition. It's actually going to be a second Zillion in that one, so it's not enhancing you in any way other than just having the ability to ult twice, essentially. This is going to be such a fascinating matchup to watch. Feeling very, very good for Slick right now. Who are we going to be following?
All right, let's drop in with Slick and see how they do up against Blob themselves. Now, in the non-ghosty form, the Aphelios is still absolutely brutal, but at least the Ashe is actually staying up for some amount of time.
The Zillion got a couple of absolutely crucial reses in, but it's just not enough. The Ashe is going to go into GA form. It's going to be Aphelios versus 3, and with one big pop, the showstopper comes through, and Blob manages to stop Slick in his tracks. It is going to be second yet again for Slick on the back of yet another show-stopping performance from Blob.
Wow. And we'll just catch the tail end of that one again.
And it was Slick's Ghost that took out Ninja.
Oh boy. Wow. Impressive stuff. Yeah, there we go. Last bit of damage coming in. So Blob with 2 round wins in a row. I'm pretty sure she's going to be saying, I kind of suck. But still, extremely impressive, especially considering, as you said, it looked extremely dire for Blob coming into this last round. Losing against both of the top 3, but the double Zillion, I think, was enough to soak a lot of the damage and get to that promised land, which was past the initial wave of damage.
3 crucial backline reses there from the Zillion in that last matchup. It was enough to distract Diana long enough for the GA to come in clutch for the Ashe. In comes the set. Beautiful play coming in for the second game in a row. That final round going perfectly in Blob's favour. 2 wins today on Unstoppable 4.
Yeah, I have to give a lot of credit across to Way Too Slick. Yeah, they've been performing extremely well in a lobby with Improbable Blob, which is, of course, the most dangerous lobby to be in.
The Blobby.
The Blobbiest lobby? Oh my gosh.
It's a Blobby lobby.
It's only madness remains. So, we're going to take a short break while you get set up for our final round of the day. So it's going to be at 10 past in around 10 minutes' time. So, yeah, I think these shortened rounds are working out pretty well. There's a little bit of a break, but hopefully not too much of one. But we'll catch you guys with that break in, 9 minutes' time. For now, enjoy the music.
The back and forth has got me so messed up. Don't ignore the signs. We've had enough of the whole damn thing that we got going. You hold the strings without me knowing. Why do I have to suffer through the thinking? Why do I have the feeling that we're sinking? I need to find a way. Find a way. Find a way. Find a way out. Find a way. Find a way out. Find a way. Find a way out. What's all this for? It's got me turned around, but I can't ignore the feelings that I found in this whole damn thing that we got going. You hold the strings without me knowing. Why do I have to suffer through the thinking? Why do I have the feeling that we're sinking? I need to find a way. Find a way. Find a way. Find a way out. Find a way out. Find a way out. Find a way out. Find a way out.
Got enough of every melody, they all sound the same. Yeah. For my broken heart, no remedy, but maybe if you stay, we can get away with it. 'Cause you make me love my imperfections, answer all my questions, just to show me What's on the other side of inhibition? No apologies, my baby. I do you do, cause I'm feeling so good. Oh, my darkest memories now let me fall back. But you'll be there, ready to rescue me if I go out of track. You can get away with it, 'cause you make me love my imperfections, answer all my questions just to show me what's on the other side of inhibition. No apologies, my baby. I do you do, 'cause I'm feeling so good. Yeah. What's on the other side of inhibition? Ooh, I do you do, 'cause I'm feeling so cool.
On this journey we will find our souls begin to intertwine. Your heart of gold so pure, divine, and I lost myself within the fire, breaking free from my desire. A heart of gold forged to inspire. It's starfire. It's starfire. On this journey we will find our souls begin to intertwine. Your heart of gold so pure, divine, and I lost myself within the fire, breaking free from my desire. A heart of gold forged to inspire. It's starfire. It's starfire. It's starfire.
Waste another day, eyes on my display. You say we need a change, and I feel that you mean it. You mean it. But you're so right, we're losing track of time, buying things online, and it's not like we need them. We don't need them. So can we just slow down? The only thing I'll do is lay here next to you. We need to slow down. Embrace the love we found. For you and I are safe and sound. And we slow
Huzzah! Welcome back, gentle friends. So we come to the final round of today's competition, in which Improbable Blob has dominated with 2 wins so far, find themselves up at the top of the scoreboard with the full 20 points, the only player to have done so. So catching them in this final game, it's going to be quite the task.
Certainly is. We've seen Slick pick up 2 second places, challenge all the way through to those final fights against Blob in both of our lobbies so far. If they're able to pick up a first here and Blob were to drop off a little bit, that could well swing it in their favour.
Alright, so we'll be getting into our final lobby today. Let's head across there. Hey, Skiller is on table 1 saying, why am I here? Well, we'll see if you can prove yourself here.
I feel like the answer to that must be because you've done well in your previous 2 games.
Yeah. I mean, the tournament's set up in such a way that you don't get any bonus points for being at the top table necessarily. So it's a little easier to jump up tables than it would be in other tournament formats. But the idea of that is to give people as much chance to interact with as many different people as possible, because they're all in voice chat with each other. You'll see, for example, over on Way Too Slick, they've got the Discord showing in the top left, because they're all talking to each other while they're playing. And from what I've been told, there's a whole new level of mind games that comes in when you can actually directly access your opponent and start telling them lies.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, definitely, because, you start calling your own comps and, getting into people's heads and saying, oh, I'm going to get this or do this. So far, we've seen Blob go for 2 different compositions. We've also seen the same Moonlight Hunter comp both times out of Slick, so see whether they go for that one again. It's a case of, if it's not broke, don't change it, and certainly in the last game, things worked out pretty well up until that final fight for Slick.
So no Chosens. Oh, well, I suppose we already just got through to the second stage.
We did, yes.
All right, just getting a little bit ahead of myself there.
Hey, you're allowed to be excited. It's okay.
So as far as POVs we've got coming in, so we've got Thomes, of course, returning back from before. We've got Slick and, of course, Improbable Blob. FX Ninja as well, doing well. Tempo Guard Treble also making it through. So we haven't had a chance to actually see Treble yet, but they are, let's see, where are they in this? They are... Oh, I see, there's a lot of joint places heading down, so that's why some of our lower ranked players are getting into these lobbies. So like Skiller, who was a bit confused as to why they were here. It's just because it's very, very tight all the way down the table. So you end up in a situation...
Makes for a very entertaining end to our broadcast today, as this is our 3rd and final game in this tournament. Of course, you're doing some Among Us afterwards, if I remember correctly.
Yes, so if any of you guys watching or playing would like to hang out, we'll start putting up Among Us lobbies as soon as the tournament is finished. Just because we found that people just, now they've hung out with all these players all this time, they actually just want to keep hanging out with them.
And why not?
Yeah, and why not stab them? Why not cement your friendship with a bit of light murder?
Can't beat light murder. We're seeing a couple of early Zeds being secured here on this one, so it does look as a nice start for Traber, as they are going to be able to get the rapid fire cannon completed as well. So that is obviously one of those crucial Z items.
Yeah, I mean, it's also can potentially work for the Bonky Kong as well if they decide to go down that route.
True.
So yeah, there is some degree of flexibility there. It's kind of the off-road item that it works for very specific things. Slick Moonlight Hold Hand GG remake. So now we get to see what Slick's strategy is here, which is announce to the lobby what competition you're going for and dare them to try and contest it.
Well, Hold Hand is certainly someone who may well do that. We saw them picking up the 7th, 8th last time round. If they contest that comp with Slick and don't manage to make it work, they may well be living up to their name for the second time on stream today. Meanwhile, we're going to see the Vanguard Hecarim eating up a lot of damage here. Zed trying to put the damage down, but in the end, that 2-star Nidalee with the Demon's Gloves. Is it Demon's Gloves? The double
Thieves'
item?
Claws.
Thieves' Gloves, sorry. Always think it looks a bit like a demon for some reason. Or a really angry, crazy frog.
That was the original name. That was the working name, but they changed it.
Was it? Okay.
Copyright reasons.
Yes, of course. Axel F wouldn't have been happy about that. We're going to see that chosen Nidalee coming up strong enough in that one, despite the rapid fire cannon Wukong.
All right, let's pop around the place and see what other people are getting up to. So we've got, of course, Slick. We don't even need to look at their board because they're just going
to... Oh, what a shock!
Threatening the lobby.
I can't believe it.
So we're kind of in, we've got a lot of metagame going on here where literally you can become known for a particular kind of composition and therefore not quite scare people off of running it, but at least it's very clear for anyone else who picks up, say, an Aphelios or a Silas Moonlight Chosen, that they've got distinctly someone who will barrel down that composition no matter what.
Yeah, definitely true. You can see Diana getting caught out by Nami's bubble. We still have the Aphelios putting out damage, but he's only 1-star because the Moonlight buff went onto the Lysandra this time around. Diana's going to die before getting her second shield. Now the bubble's coming in, and it is going to be a double bubble trouble as we see Skiller trying to do his best to pick up this win. Yet another set of bubbles. I don't think that's enough to stop the damage coming out of Lysandra and Aphelios. It's going to be a win for Way Too Slick.
And that means one less perfect record player in the lobby, leaving it down to FX
look
Ninja.
At all those Moonlight. Oh
my gosh, It's like it's meant to be. It's like nobody else is picking up any Moonlight because they're too intimidated in this perennial second place Slick in the lobby.
Oh, yeah. Well, if it works, it works. So let's see if he manages to take it all the way to top 2 again, or even go one better than in our previous games. As we have just wait for this final round of competition before we go to Carousel. Obviously, we're coming to the end of patch of TFT set 4. It's going to 4.5, getting some of the changes coming through. Which change excites you the most? What are you looking forward to seeing coming into your game?
I think honestly, I'm just kind of excited to see some of the dead weight gone from the set, because there's been certain champions like Xin Zhao who's just sort of getting blown up there. That just have never really worked. So just making room for other carries, other plays. I think there's a lot to be excited about. And throughout the PBE process that's been going on, because I've been playing on PBE almost exclusively, there's a lot of the outliers in terms of outrageous compositions have mostly been put down by this point. So I think for set 4.5, I'm not necessarily excited about something specific, but just about the idea of being able to get into another version of this set 4, but just a better version.
Yeah, I think that would be really nice if it happened. I think the thing that always frustrates me with TFT is when there's one or two just broken, stupid things. So I remember just rage quitting TFT in general for a while when the dual gauntlet Darius was a thing a set or so ago. And I don't want anything to creep through in this update like that, where you're just like, nah, you either get this or it's not fun to play against. I think, having looked at it, it looks like they've balanced things out nicely. They've brought in some nice new interactions. I'm very much looking forward to things changing up on the live patch come, I think it's Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, certainly very, very soon. I believe the final changes have come in on PBE, so there's not a lot left to be said. I think they're kind of more or less happy where things are right now. Oh, there we go. There's the Moonlight Chosen. So, sorted.
So obviously this poses the very slight problem until 2 more Dianas are picked up, that you have to get rid of your Zeke's Herald, and by get rid of, I mean pop it onto the bench for now, as we see everything getting sold as the full commitment to Moonlight comes in. Decides to stick it out with the existing ones. I don't think Yeah, I'm interested by this. There we go. That's what I thought was going to happen. Leveling up to 5 so you can have all of your Moonlight out. That extra Diana on the board just to give you the Moonlight buff, of course. This is up against the Moonlight Aphelios. This is going to be Improbable Blob, who's got the, I believe it's a Hunter buff Aphelios, and we're going to see if that works out. No, it's not. It is a Moonlight buff. You can see the Moonlight coming through onto the Diana, despite there only being 2 on the board, and that's enough for Blob to find a victory over his old adversary Slick. Her old adversary Slick.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anyone who's willing to go up against Slick, who's literally saying, I will drag you down to 8th place with me if you dare go after my comp.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is for the memes, but I mean, Blob's doing really well with the Moonlight comp. They're going for the 3 Moonlight, which is definitely a lot more seen than 5, and also a lot less volatile. Though in this lobby, where someone's going to be stealing all of your Silas's and all of your Aphelios, I don't know if it's a long-term proposition.
It's interesting because if he's not able to get, my apologies again. If she's not able to get enough of the Silas and the Aphelios, then it's definitely going to be really, really problematic. Never going to get up to those higher stakes. However, because you're going not into a straight Moonlight comp, but into a Moonlight Hunter comp, you know you're going to actually put out probably more damage by the end of the game as long as you're able to keep those units alive.
Well, something that occurs to me as well is, as much as this may not be where Blob will end up eventually, because, you know, getting the 2-3 stars is going to be, I think, almost impossible. What it does do is it puts a real spike in the road of Way Too Slick, in that they're going to have a lot less Moonlights around to be able to get themselves rolling quickly. And when Blob eventually transitions out of this, if they do, then Slick's going to have that much longer to have to try and spend to get up to full strength. And as we saw, Blob was like 1 or 2 rounds away from dying each time. So you put 1 or 2 rounds more onto their ability to get to full power, and you don't have to worry about them anymore.
Definitely. And I mean, I actually don't think that we are going to see a change away from Blob. I think we're going to see those Moonlight stick around, extra focus be put onto the Hunters, but as you say, doing enough of a distraction, enough of a removal from the pool to make things a little bit trickier for Slick. I think it hurts one of the greatest rivals while keeping yourself fairly strong as well. And I'd definitely be quite scared if I were going up against this.
Well, unfortunately, that story comes to an abrupt end.
Yep,
as the
Moonlight gets old.
So, okay, so I think it probably was, as we're kind of reading it there, that it was not necessarily a troll on Way Too Slick, but a way to keep Way Too Slick from getting it up to full capacity just for a couple of rounds. And so we'll see. If Slick now dies before they get to full power, then it's worked. But for Blob, I don't think it even cost them anything, because they were still winning.
You know what? If I were Blob right now, I'd say screw it. I'd take those 2 Dianas as well that are lying on his purchase table. I'd say I'm going to keep those out of the hands and off the possible rotation for Slick for as long as I possibly could. However, not being that BM this time round.
Hey Armin, welcome to the stream. We're just in the last round of the casual competition of TFT. We're going to be doing Clash tomorrow on this channel as well. So I hope you'll be able to come and join us for that, as it looks like Blob will fall victim to Tome's TFT's duelist competition. We haven't had a chance to look at them yet, but apparently they're good enough to be able to compete, so let's check them out.
And we just saw that shift away from the Aphelios, and I don't think it really worked out. I don't think it paid off in any way, shape, or form. So maybe a little bit early pulling the trigger for Blob, but I questioned them last time around. They came out with a win. She's doing very, very well in our game today with 2 victories as it is. 5 duelists on this comp that we're having a little look at now. We followed Tomes in game 1 today, making an amazing comeback, bouncing all the way from looking like they were going to be eliminated first to, I believe, eventually finishing in 3rd place.
Yeah, I mean, we have to learn not to make too many predictions here, because our players have shown they're able to fight back out of a corner exceptionally well. So much of note, as we go up against Hold Hands here. So they've got themselves an interesting setup. It looks like it's mostly Warlords they've got going on, and just as much raw power as they can fit in.
Warlord with a little bit of sharpshooters in there as well, and we are going to see the ZZ Rock Portal coming in clutch as always. Tomes taking that bit of damage, not looking too happy about it.
So Hold Hands currently in 2nd place, just behind D Legend. It's worth noting in terms of the overall. Oh my gosh, I like this Hold Hands. I wish they had a stream because they seem pretty funny.
Yeah, definitely a fan of the way that one was being talked about, when not only hands in their name, but also getting 4 of those gauntlets and already putting 2 of them to good use for the Thief's Gloves. Now we do see Tomes trying to get to that 6th duelist. It's just not happening at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge power spike up, but let's see. So you're looking for the Callista here to find that 6th duelist, and it can be frustrating, especially when you've got 2 units at the same tier. That, you have to find both of them at the same time. It's oftentimes you're just going to end up with one or the other, so you've got to make the best you can. I mean, 5 duelists is fine.
Is it just the Callista and the Lee Sin that he's missing at this point?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, things working out in this one a little bit better. Fiora unable to parry enough, and we see a bit of a winning streak come to the end for the Legend.
Yeah, so this is one which I wanted to bring up before, as D-Legend gets knocked out of first place. It's D-Legend along with Way Too Slick. Those are the 2 challengers to the Blob throne. They both have 16 points, so they've got themselves the best chances of being able to pop over. As you mentioned, Blob really needs to go out relatively early for it to be a possibility, and for Way Too Slick and D-Legend, they're the ones best positioned to take advantage of that eventuality if it does come to bear.
We've got 3 sub-70 summoners at the moment in Skiller, Ninja, and Tomes, and I feel like if all 3 of those do end up going out before Blob, which at the moment seems entirely possible, this could be Blob's competition to lose. As we come into this carousel, it's gone well for D-Legend, losing at that exact moment, able to get in before the top 2 competitors picking up whatever they want to.
Alright, so we'll keep an eye out. It looks like for our player here, let's see, that they've managed to get themselves a Negatron cloak. Let's pop around, let's see. Who have we not spent any time with? FX Ninja, who has apparently got some extremely over-the-top follow. I don't know what's quite going on there, but hopefully I'll get copyright struck for that.
Gonna have that little bit of K-pop coming through from Ninja, who's just arriving a little late to this carousel that we obviously know has already happened. But just checking out the build, it's going to be the Brawler Hunter start off, and yeah, doing okay so far, but needs to start picking up some wins. Otherwise, going to be falling towards that 50 hit point marker far too quickly.
I mean, that was a very solid pickup from the carousel. Warwick, with already having a sword built in, means that now you've got a Hunter chosen. You've now got the best Hunter with one of the core items. So I can really see a big jump up here for Ninja.
We'll be able to try and get more of the core items. Would you be looking towards the Deathblade on the Warwick, or?
I think you've generally got to. I mean, the items are more or less there. The only problem is that you've got a lot of... As I say, you've got the items on the Ophelia, so I think that one's got to go in the bin. But now you can go straight into Deathblade and Quicksilver.
QS.
Yeah, you don't have the Runans to get the complete sort of perfect items, but you're very, very close. You've got got 2 rounds of creeps, and you've got a carousel to pick it up when you're close to the bottom of the table. So, if it's going to happen for Ninja, this is, I think, going to be the start of it.
Certainly looking good. Does lose the chosen buff, of course, having got rid of the Ophelia you just talked about. However, is going to still have that 4 Brawler alongside 3 Elderwood, which is new, and throwing out the 2 Nunus out there just for the extra tankiness as well. Ash putting out some good damage from the back line, but it's all about the Warwick, who gets himself 1 stack on the Deathblade. The Cannon, Maelstrom comes through. Warwick still trying to put the damage out. He gets himself his 3rd stack onto the Deathblade. He finds a 4th. He looks for the 5th. It is Warwick versus the world, and D-Legends falls. Yeah,
again, that's big for... we're not just talking about actually hitting the number 1 spot in the whole competition. We've got tons of other people in this lobby who can potentially better their position. Dare and FX Ninja both on 14 points. So they're just behind Slick and D-Legend. Again, for them, even if they can't necessarily catch up Blob, or it's very unlikely for them to catch up with Blob, they can get themselves into top 3 by disposing of Legend or Slick.
Having a little look here at Slick, of course. He has now got himself the 3-star Diana, got 2-star on all of the remaining Moonlight units. So we are going to see 2 of those. Obviously, one of them will be Elios, pushed up to 3-star. The fact that he's not been able to get the Lysandra to 2-star to 3-star yet, absolutely crucial, however, and it could be bad news for Slick.
All right, so Treble, who I came across because of his ability to run not just 24-hour streams, but 40-hour streams at a time.
Wow.
Absolute beast. Definitely check them out. They do a lot of Rocket League as well as TFT. We try and encourage them towards the TFT, of course. But they're doing pretty well.
He might be a beast, but unfortunately he can't get through that beastly Hecarim that's just not taking damage at all. The double Nunus might be the best hope of chomping it down, but I don't think even that is going to be enough with the true damage coming through from Willem. Look at Ashe desperately trying to stay alive, not going to be able to turn the attention onto... Sorry, does turn the attention at the last second through the Hunter buff onto the Garen, but not able to rinse through that absolutely obscene Hecarim.
Oh, yeah, it's just a small correction then. Sorry, that was Trebor's Horsey that was getting the job done there. Oops, hello. What's going on there? Oh, yeah. Let's actually go in and check out Trevor a little bit more closely because... so they've got Vanguard, they've got Elderwood. They're close to having Elderwood 6. This is an extremely strong Hecarim, as we saw there in the last round. Even the Ashe towards the end just couldn't really get through and do enough damage to make a difference.
We're going to get to see it in action again here, trying to eat up as much damage as possible with the magic resist coming in. This time it's going lower than last time around. Does get that Elderworth buff, does manage to throw the ult down, is staying alive long enough to allow Akali with that Infinity Edge and Rapid Fire Cannon to do some good damage from the background. However, a stray bubble catches onto the Assassin with Akali and Hecarim both dead. This is bad news for Trebor. Skiller looking to pick up a win, currently at the bottom of the pile. It's going to be a Nidalee Spear that catches onto the Annie just before she's able to ult, doesn't find the extra shield. Double bubble, double trouble, and it's Trebor who loses his life on this one.
Oh boy, Skiller, we haven't had a chance to see too much of them. So they definitely haven't itemized for a long-term Nami there, but they have itemized for probably an Ahri or something of that nature, some sort of big hitting AP carry. So Skiller, again, if you remember our previous tournaments, very used to fighting back from 5 health. I think they potentially, if they can swap that Nami over for something a bit more substantial, like the Ahri or indeed anything else that can use those big hitting items to create a big effect on the board, then we could see Skiller rise up despite their self-imposed lack of belonging here at Table 1.
You're seeing how difficult it is for Trebor, however, to hit 6 Elderwood because of how many Ashes have been picked up by everybody else, unable to get that 6th buff coming in, having to rely on the damage coming out of both Hecarim and Akali, and with Akali dead, again, Hecarim could be the last bastion for Trebor as Hold Hands looks to pick up a win. Hold Hands 7th, 8th, trying to make sure they do not finish 7th or 8th, but yet again, can they kill the Hecarim? Needs to find the ultimate, manages to find it. Now it's 4 versus 1. Now it's 3 versus 1. Make it 2 versus... Whoa, no, the Guardian Angel is enough to keep the Jack alive. The 3v1 is too much for Ponyboy.
Yeah, that's one of the things coming through there that was particularly important, was the Vi armor shred. So able to take away 60% of the armor from the Hecarim meant that, you've got options to be able to deal with these big, strong units. And as we get towards the late game, when the Lee Sins start coming in, the Hecarim's reign of terror will officially come to an end, and I think at that point Trebor's going to have to try and rely more heavily on some other carry, which I assume is supposed to be an Ashe. Right now it's an Akali, but one day they'll find an Ashe.
And if that Ashe comes through, then perhaps Trevor will be able to get back onto a win streak. For now, we've watched 2 losses in a row, and it may well be 3 if Blob has anything to do about it. However, Blob themselves not been having the best time since we saw that Sale of the Moonlight earlier on. Trying to do the damage, trying to take out the Hecarim, as we've seen other people try to do, both successfully and unsuccessfully before. Garen is going to fall. Yuumi doing everything they can to buff up the Janna, but that's just not a damaging unit. And even though we've got bubbles connecting, it's not enough to rinse through that tanky Hecarim.
Yeah, this is a big deal for Trebor. Like, they just managed to creep through onto the top table, currently on 10 points, so they're definitely not in a position of challenging for the top spot unless this game goes exceptionally well. There is an Elderwood. You see the ping coming out onto Ezreal. Tempting. But I think it's going to be swept up way before... Oh, Blob's just going to taunt them. Just going to taunt them the whole time. Oh! Leave it for legend.
No, not like this! At the last second before release, Trebor is going to see the Ezreal be picked up by the legend. Instead, he's going to go and get himself the recurve bow, which will certainly help towards whatever goes onto that Ashe later on. I assume that'll be a Rage Blade alongside the needlessly large rod.
Yeah, they already got the components for Rage Blade, though, which is what it makes it a little bit surprising.
Maybe it was that was what was left, so let's do that, I guess.
I suppose so. I mean, certainly right now, it is a very kind of specific carry-focused composition at the best of times anyway. Having more bows does allow you to at least move towards having a double carry setup by... you've got the Giant Slayer potentially as well for the Nunu. You can bring in more hunters, you can start having a more diversified damage portfolio, if you want to put it in the most over-the-top way possible.
Giant Slayer Nunu, of course, something that's kind of crazy because of the extra damage that you get on the ultimate against tanky targets. However, Nunu here is dying pretty early in this fight, not even able to get a single chomp off. This is the duelist composition we saw from Tomes earlier on, has now hit the 6th duelist, and the Callista throwing spear after spear after spear after spear after spear into the Hecarim. Eventually will be able to rend, will be able to find that last bit of damage. There it is, and with Yasuo with 3 items well and truly online, despite the knockup from Wild Growth, it is going to be a win for Tomes against Trebor. He needs to find that Ash, and he needs to find it yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just waiting to see the first of the Giant Slayer units arriving. So in this case, the Callista. Later on, oh my gosh, this is an awkward situation. So we've finally got 6 Elderwood, which will go some way towards replacing the lost Vanguard buff here, but there's still no primary carry for Trebor to use those carry items on. I wouldn't at all mind seeing them actually complete items at this point, because, to be fair, looking at the scoreboard, they're actually only in 2nd. So they've got a bit of time to work
absolutely
with.
Fine. Yeah, despite the 3 or 4 losses that we've seen them have in the last 6 games, they are absolutely doing okay. Just really wanting that Asher. You can tell by the fact the Akali stays in, and as you say, the Vanguard buff is lost to put the Ezreal in. Yet again, Ash is going to die very, very early. This time we see True Shot barrages coming out. Again, it's all about can they melt the Hecarim before the damage is put out by things like the Rapid Fire Ezreal, which is doing great work on the side. The Elder buff is maxed out, and we are going to see the Hecarim living long enough to let Ezreal do damage. But now, with the Hecarim dead, the attention turns towards the Lulu. It's a 2v1. Jinx with the Giant Slayer, looking to try and rip through the Lulu. Manages to find one, turns the attention towards the Ezreal, throws out True Shot barrage, manages to find the damage, and Trebor takes a win.
So that's putting D-Legend down towards the bottom of the table. Unfortunately, we don't have point of view, so we're going to try and scout around as of the end of this creep round and find out who Skillet's next opponent's going to be. Hopefully it'll be one of our point of view players, because they are currently on 4 health. So this is when we are promised that Skillet will become the most powerful in all the universe.
Should we go to Tomes, because they seem to be the furthest ahead, so we'll get to see whether or not they're against Skillet quite early.
Alright, let's have a look.
Also, we have a little look and see how Tomes getting on. The 6 duelists now completed, as I mentioned earlier on. Very, very few items completed apart from on that Yasuo. So I want to see a little bit being put out onto the board now to keep Tomes on a little bit more health than the 22. Well, can't be on more health, but extra health than 22 currently on. 7 duelists now on the board, courtesy of that buff. So were the Lee Sin to come in and replace the Janna, that would be the 8 duelist buff completed.
Alright, so we're going to do a quick scout around, try and find Skillet. They are not here.
Slick. And there.
So we'll keep our eyes out. That's Tomes. Let's see. So that's the battle that's going on right now between those two. And we'll see if...
Perhaps one of our 2 on the left might yield us a Skillet.
Let's see. Is that a Skillet? It is!
That is. Here we go. So it's going to be Trebor, who, of course, we've seen a lot of recently, looking to eliminate the first person from this game. Someone who would be happy to see eliminations is Blob, of course, as we see the massive amount of damage coming out of the ultimate, but crucially doesn't take out either the Veigar or the Ezreal. Hecarim, as always, tanking up for days. The backline has managed to... the front line has managed to find the backline of Skillet, and Skillet is our first eliminated from Game 3.
You were the chosen one, Skillet. You're supposed to bring us back. He put up
a great effort, considering.
I mean, yeah, as we were anticipating, the Nami turned into the Ahri. Unfortunately, with I think the way the formations worked out, the Ahri, I think at the best of times against the Elderwood formation, was going to have a rough going of it.
Without a doubt. Meanwhile, we can see another battle is going on right now. This is going to be away to Slick, currently in 2nd in the entire tournament, also in 2nd in this particular game. It's a position they seem to take on quite nicely, managing to find yet more damage through the Hunters. Crucially, however, we're not seeing 4-star Aphelios yet.
No, and that's the herald of the end times. We do have the 3-star Pipe, which is not to be sniffed at, and we've got a few more Hunters coming as well. So,
oh yeah,
I think the temptation to go towards level 7's got to be fairly compelling here. But the problem is that it's Lysandra that's holding you back, because she's not quite at 3-star, and if you go up to level 7, you're starting to drop down your possibility of seeing any 1-stars at all. Or
So
one
I think
cost.
it's really crucial right now they get a third item onto this Aphelios, because at the moment it's a coin flip between whether Aphelios or Diana get chosen. As chosen Diana comes in for the second game in a row, it means Aphelios isn't going to be outpouring the damage they would normally. They're up here against Blob, who we know is their biggest rival. The chains are going to pull Aphelios back into harm's way as he throws down damage but gets one shot by the Ahri. Perhaps that doesn't happen if they're 4-star. Now it's going to be Diana trying to take down as many units as possible, but with one massive dual gauntlet blast, it is going to be way too slick, who take damage yet again from the Blob.
And we see the difference between a round where Ahri comes in and actually kills the units in one shot versus having the sliver of extra health which was allowed by having 6 Elderwood in the composition. For the Moonlight, that's very much not the case. So they just die instantly.
And on the back of that one, someone else who died instantly, Tomes' run is ended in this game, picking up 7th place. More good news for Blob.
Yeah, which means, Blob just keeps moving forward. Currently on a winning streak as well. It's our number 1 player, looking for their 3rd Table 1 lobby win. Again, the most self-depreciating player I think I've ever met in my life, but still pulling off an amazing performance.
Doing absolutely brilliant. Improbable or not, so far has been the day of Blob. She's having an absolutely stunning time. Still want to see that 3rd item coming onto the Aphelios, but it turns out that actually the Diana is more highly prioritized than the Aphelios is, because a 3rd item is put onto the Diana, signaling that actually right now Slick wants the Diana to be the one going to 4-star.
Alright, so it looks like we may have lost contact with... I'm just going to have a quick check and see if FX Ninja is still going. Forget about it. We'll figure it out.
Okay. We can see D-Legend going up against 2 Slick. Aphelios is going to put down a good amount of damage, but look at the backline. This Ash of D-Legend trying to rinse through the health bars. However, it's 1v4. It's gone. D-Legend is gone. We've got a final 4.
Oh boy, and as you said, D-Legend was one of the players to beat for Slick.
Sorry, final 5.
Well, now that means that the top of the table is much more there for Slick to jealously hold on to that 2nd place position. I think for them, the objective has got to be here to get at least 1 game out of Blob. Even if you can't necessarily win, you can at least say they're not completely unbeatable.
That is his what's the term? Not the revenge arc, the
Redemption arc?
Oh, that's the one. The redemption arc that they're hoping for. See whether it works out. Might be an opportunity to take them on now, though we saw them up against Blob fairly recently. It's instead going to be Ninja, whose stream we couldn't follow, so instead we're going to watch them here. Yet again, with Diana jumping in, trying to get more stacks towards the item I've just forgotten the name of, so we'll go straight on and look at Aphelios doing damage!
Oh, that's a poorly timed
in
advert.
his tracks.
There we go. We can watch it from... Well, unfortunately we've just missed out on the... oh my gosh. Apparently, Warwick's been set loose.
I can tell you that Ninja lost that one. Because they're on a 1-loss streak. Meanwhile, the Doggos go very excited in the background. They obviously really wanted to see that last match, and unfortunately, you denied them, Counterfeit.
I did. I'm a bad man. One day, though, we'll have that spectator mode. But we wouldn't get to enjoy this K-pop.
Loki.
So there we go. Ninja up against Slick. One moment. So what we've got here is Warwick with a rapid fire cannon. So they're not going to be able to get up their deathblade as quickly as they would be otherwise, but they have got the increased safety of not having to actually be a frontliner, which means that if they weren't stunned forever, they could have maybe done something against Slick. But as it is, Quincy's Rageblade on the Aphelios. We didn't see that before, but this time we do, and that means that the damage ceiling for Aphelios is tremendously higher. Oh my gosh, alright. Oh no!
It's happened again. Sorry, I missed that last fight. I was having to deal with a rogue doggo. Was it a deeply exciting match?
It was pretty good. Cool. Certainly, Ninja just found an adept chosen Yone as it went to adverts. We just got to catch that. So I think there's a good chance Ninja comes back here, even if we've got right now. Yeah, we've got way too slick on 42. Let's see, we've got Improbable on 48, so they're both dominating this lobby and trying to drive out the 4th and 5th place players, Fat Ninja and Hold Hands.
We've also got Hold Hands breaking trademark here and going to come in the top 5. That's not 7th or 8th.
Oh, outrageous.
It sure is. Good damage coming out of Blob, trying to finish off Ninja, and with one big blast removes 3 units from the game. We'll need another Ariel to save the day. It's not going to arrive in time. It's up in the air, but what's not up in the air is the victory that comes for Ninja. Blob takes a loss.
And 7th and 8th has also dropped out in 5th, so that's going to remove them from the equation. They were also relatively low placed. So
how many points do you get for finishing 4th in one of these games, Catfit?
So it goes 10, 8, 7, 6. And then it goes down to 4 for the next one.
So, if my maths is correct, if Blob finishes 4th, and either Trebor or Slick finish 1st, we have a tie for 1st.
Ooh. And I assume that tie is going to be broken in among us.
Ooh. Fancy. We are now seeing Lissandra at 3-star, which means we've got the 2 4-star units that are Diana and the Aphelios putting out good damage. Blob up against the old adversary yet again, and with the Ari still alive, able to pour out damage, taking out as many as they can.
Whoop.
The Aphelios still doing well, but gets absolutely bopped on top of by the Ari. It's going to be yet another win for Blob, taking out Slick for the 10 millionth time today.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why the... just having the ability to draw in all of the, using those infernal chains is so important to be able to make sure that all of the crucial units are in the right place at the right time.
Without doubt.
Because you really reduce down the amount of variability you're otherwise going to be seeing from the Ariel.
And I think I talked in game 1 about what for me is the necessity of getting the Quicksilver on an Aphelios rather than the GA. Those guns don't fire in GA anymore. QSS saves you from so many things. You get a little bit of extra survivability and damage, but I do feel like the QSS is absolutely necessary, especially against the Aatrox. Meanwhile, Ninja fighting for their lives against Blob here. We have had Trebor go out in 4th place. This competition, I believe, is going to be Blob's, but can they take it in the most satisfying style possible, taking all 3 victories on the day? They've got to go through Ninja first. They need to get an ult out of the Ari. Here it comes, dropping from above. It's going to be set, scurrying back to the corner, restoring a little bit of health, but once again, fire falls from the skies, and it's going to be Ninja out in 3rd place.
Oh boy. So congratulations to Trevor.
And then there were 2.
Yeah, it's a tale of Slick and it's a tale of Blob. It's 2 great adversaries looking to, if not upturn the table, and at least upset the perfect record. Also on very similar health, so they both got, I'd imagine, a round's worth of loss in them. They can afford to take that one loss before they get knocked out, unless it's a very one-sided affair.
You're absolutely right. The Shroud of Stillness was picked up there by Blob, who is currently just very, very slightly ahead on HP, and also has won those last couple of games that we've seen, including one against Slick. Slick, slightly higher HP, but on the back of a loss against Blob 2 rounds ago, has got to be a bit nervous. Placement is going to be all important. We see that Shroud of Stillness put on at the last second. They wait to see exactly where the carries are before dropping it on top of Cassiopeia, making sure that Diana does get slowed down as the Aphelios still manages to get a cannon out, however. It's all going to be about damage coming out of Ari. Ari gets taken out just as the first ultimate falls from the skies. This is looking good for Slick. The 4-star units still alive, looking to do the damage as we see the slows put down by the Vanguard that is Sejuani. Health bars dropping lower and lower for Slick. Diana still able to do good work. The gun's still firing. The Rage Blade is well and truly stacked for the Aphelios. Slick beats Blob for one of the first times in our competition today and makes it an absolutely incredible fight to the finish.
Yeah, and this is the big problem here. As soon as that Ari gets deleted, it's all over. And this is a big problem as well, because there's not a huge amount you can do to stop it from happening. So I think we're going to be seeing the formation be the most important thing for Blob coming here to try and at least get the round back. We can see, the Hold Hands is trying to make sure that people are very aware of the stakes at play here.
Here we go. I love that Blob has gone, wait, this is your third Moonlight game in a row? As if they hadn't noticed already. We all know what you're up to, Slick. The question is it enough to find you your first win of the day? This time, Ari is going untouched in the back line, has been able to drop down a couple of ultimates. They've not quite shredded through the health bars of the Aphelios yet, but the Diana is going to be falling on this ultimate, and just like that, big health points are lost by way too Slick. It's all coming down to a fight to the finish, but we're going to have to wait until after the Herald round. It's going to be a Sunfire for Blob. What's it going to be for Slick?
Let's go find out with our incredible magic vision. In fact, we can just reduce down to just the only two competitors remaining with a chance of winning out here. So there we go. So we can see it's going to be a Bloodthirster, which isn't ideal. There are probably a lot of other items, tank items.
I think this is better for Blob.
Oh, for sure.
I think the Sunfire for Blob, I think, is going to be adding that extra tankiness to, let's say, maybe, I think Sejuani's already got a Sunfire, so probably not Sejuani, maybe the Aatrox. In the end, it's all about one thing. Does Ari live or die at the beginning of the fight? The positioning of Diana, the ability to keep that Ari alive, that is going to be the story we're keeping our eyes on.
All right, Styrix is very excited to see this final round take place. Both of these players in kill position. Who's going to take it all?
Ari blocked off by the Hecarim. It's going to be the Zephyr catching on to Diana. This means Ari lives long enough to get at least one ultimate. Diana's going to go forward, but of course doesn't get a dash through because got Zephyred out of position. This is enough for Blob to pick up a third win. Surely Aphelios is doing everything they can, but it's not enough. The Guardian is procced. The game is won. Blob, 3 times champion. Well played.
Yeah, you don't get much more definitive than that. Oh my gosh. So Slick will have to settle for being second place, but it's one hell of a second place, to be fair. That's second place, I believe, through all of the games we've seen through so far.
Trio of second places on top table. That is not to be sneezed at.
And especially, when you consider those second places come only because Improbable Blob is there, a Grandmaster player who, specifically, as we saw in this game, went out of their way to try and take a bit of the wind out of your sails, specifically in the early going. I think it's extremely well done.
It was absolutely terrific to watch. 3 cracking games of TFT, and well done to every single one of the players who we watched on the top table here. Some of them, they felt like they were out of their depth. They still put up great fights, regardless of their positioning 1st to 8th in every game. That's been an absolute pleasure to watch.
All right, guys. So, with that brings our tournament to an end here today. Congratulations again to Improbable Blob for showing up with an amazing performance, but I think, let's see, I believe we do have our final points in, so we can update you guys that, of course, Blob with a perfect score there. I think, there we go, so Slick in second place, of course, as the perennial second place player. Farfetch and Dare in joint third, and FX Ninja and Jan to win, going down to 5th and 6th, with D-Legend and Benergy making it into 7th and 8th respectively, but you go down below there, and it's a difference of 1 point between 8th and 9th, and then 9th and 10th. So, very well played to everyone.
Great stuff.
Alright guys, so, we're going to be playing some Among Us now. So, if you guys would like to come and join in for that, of course, do come and join on the tournament's Discord, which I'll post in the chat. We'll be setting up, I imagine, an EU lobby and a NA lobby, based on the amount of people we've got playing. We'll see how that goes. But for now, Greyheart, is there anything that you'd like to shout out before you go here today, apart from perhaps your delightful hoons?
Hey, the Greyhounds are always happy, and if you ever want to see anything about them, then they're on Instagram, though it's under my name on Greyheart. So go feel free to follow them there. It is literally just pictures of dogs. Also, always very grateful for anyone who follows me on Twitter. I'm at Greyheart99, and yeah. Always very grateful for that, but also grateful to you having me on. First cast of the year. Got up early for it, and it was worth it.
All right, well, congratulations again to Improbable Blob. We will be having another competition in 2 weeks' time. We're going to try and sort out getting onto an actual tournament platform for next week's competition. So the sign-ups may be a little bit different, but thank you guys for coming out today and supporting the TFT streaming scene. I hope that you guys have found some new streamers to watch. But let's go and stab each other now. I'm going to do that off stream, so don't get stream sniped continuously. But thank you guys again, and let's have some fun Among Us singing.